my God.
Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Puts it up with the right arm. Puts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown. And a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible!
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, and of course, we have another packed show for you all tonight. Hope you guys are having a great night. We are officially about 30 minutes, about 40 minutes until March, which for me specifically is my favorite month. And yes, I'm a bit biased because my birthday is on Saturday. I'm very excited. Can't believe I'm going to be 28 years old. I know that it's kind of a odd age kind of turn, just looking another year older, but I don't know, just the vibe specifically, especially in the Northeast, the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, and baseball season kind of starting to come in full swing a little bit with spring training. Opening day will be coming later during that month. We obviously have March Madness, which is one of my favorite times of the year. It's launching Sunday, and then of course pretty much the games begin. And baseball, basketball, hockey season, they're pretty much almost coming to a close, at least for the regular season, and then playoffs will start to be coming in April. So really, it's just a great time of year, and of course for NFL, NFL never sleeps. You have draft talk, but of course you have NFL free agency, the new league year, the NFL will be coming in March. So it's pretty much, you can't go wrong with this overall month. It's just a great month specifically. And, I'm excited for March to for sure come. In terms of my show for tonight, make sure, like you guys, to follow, comment, like, and subscribe to Kick It with Kruse. Obviously, if you guys like my show and other shows, obviously on the network, make sure to follow, give us a like, comment, and just pretty much say in terms of how we feel about our programs. Obviously, outside of my show that I do, we're doing Batter Up, obviously, for this new baseball season with Lovero Antonio, myself, and Isaiah Leon. Obviously, Sports Weekly throughout the week. Obviously, Isaiah and James have been doing a lot of those lately, and I've kind of come on here and there. Obviously, Extra Point probably in the off season, potentially at some point. So outside of my show here on the network, make sure to, check those out as well. In terms of my topics for tonight, obviously we're going to kind of do pretty much what we've talked about for most of my shows. That's, football. We'll talk about some draft talk tonight, in terms of kind of how I feel about the 1 through number 5 pick. There's been a lot of rumors and stuff going on in terms of teams and stuff moving up, trading down. It's just kind of that fun time we can talk about it. We'll talk about the running back market. There's a lot of top running backs that are currently going to not get the franchise tag. Of course, right now it's currently still the window of the franchise tag, and we have some guys that are tagged, some guys that aren't tagged. So we'll talk about that. We also will kind of talk about, in terms of my predictions, what went right and what went wrong. My co-host Isaiah Leon told me off the air, who, by the way, should be coming on, as well as James Gonzalez for tonight's show. If not, obviously I'll keep on running it throughout tonight. But he did mention about potentially for myself to review my what went right and what went wrong predictions from this past season. We'll obviously talk about baseball in terms of the latest sports clients. There's obviously one that has officially been off the market, and that's Cody Bellinger. So we'll talk about in terms of his overall contract and how in terms of effects for the other guys that are still out there. Let's talk a little bit of like our team reports. I know it's obviously kind of spring training, so there's really not that really we can kind of talk about, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And then obviously we're going to talk about our baseball MLB 2024 predictions. So we'll talk about our AL and MVP and obviously our division picks and much more. And then basketball, obviously our team reports, and then just kind of a couple small news that's kind of out there. And then obviously that'll pretty much be it for tonight. So like I said, make sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe, and anybody that wants to comment throughout the program, by all means, feel free, and I'll do what I can to, read the comments throughout the program, or if I don't, for sure at the end. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. And let's get started really quickly. We'll first, like I said, go to NFL, and we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on recently with the draft. And so, obviously, for those that don't know when the draft's going to be, the draft is going to be in late April. Which typically is kind of when they usually have it. And right now, the NFL draft order is officially, in. As of right now, of course, when it comes to the draft there a couple of days before, things obviously can change. But as of right now, from number 1 through number 5, it sounds like number 1 is going to be the Bears. Number 2 is going to be the Commanders. Number 3 is going to be the Patriots. And then number 4 is going to be the Cardinals. And then number 5, I believe, give me a sec, guys, for the 5th pick. Hold on, give me a sec. I think it's the Giants for 6. I'm trying to remember in terms of who the number 5 pick is. But really, I mean, kind of the talk lately is just the 3 quarterbacks, at least in the top 3. So at least we'll kind of, mention, kind of the other 4th pick when I get the chance to. But I will say specifically, obviously the top 3 picks, the Bears, the Commanders, and the Patriots. Obviously I'm a Patriots fan, so of course this is kind of very new to me. But obviously when you have a season like we had this past year, there obviously is a little bit of a plus to it, and that's the fact that we have almost $80 million in cap space. That's not even like any type of additional cuts, which more likely than not, we're probably going to cut JC Jackson because that'll probably save us about 15 to 20 more million. And that for sure could probably get us over $100 million in cap space if we want to. But really, in terms of the number 3 overall pick, there has been a lot of rumblings in terms of what we do specifically. So I at least will start off of that. And then we will kind of mention in terms of kind of the number 1 and number 2 picks. Obviously, this is the great time of mock draft season. So, a lot of guys like Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, for sure, by the way, check out their stuff because their stuff is absolutely incredible. So, obviously, just want to make sure that you guys are kind of, tuning in for that if you guys want to. But obviously, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Those are really the 3 picks, the 3 quarterbacks that are more likely than not going to be the first 3 on the board. As we welcome our co-host Isaiah Leon here into the program. Isaiah, hope you're doing well, my friend. We're obviously just kind of starting with NFL. We're kind of doing a little start with the draft. So obviously, I know obviously the draft is still a month away, but of course the rumor mill is kind of swirling already as it is. And obviously, like I mentioned before you came on, Isaiah, that they're obviously the number 3, the 3 quarterbacks really are kind of the 3 guys that are kind of on the market first, and then Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, who I think by most people are pretty much looked at as a generational type of receiver, in this class that you don't get very often in classes, at least in the past. I mean, he is generational. I mean, he's going to be probably he's going to be up there with his dad in terms of one of the probably the best ever do. I mean, that's obviously a lot to ask for this kid, but he is just going to be that good. Obviously, a little biased as an Ohio State fan, but he is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, Isaiah, obviously, first of all, how are you doing? And second of all, in terms of when you're looking at this overall draft, what have you kind of seen so far in terms of like rumors that you've kind of seen overall with the draft so far that you've kind of intrigued?
Yeah, what's up, Ben? Hope you're doing well, man. I just got off work, so able to pop in and hop onto your program right here, man. Um, I I'm doing great, but I'm kind of shocked that my Lakers are getting killed by the Washington Wizards of all teams right now after
Oh,
a big win against the Clippers last night. I mean, we're making Jordan Poole look like Steph Curry when he's Mr. Failure,
huh.
and Mr. Meme. So that's not looking so good. But yeah, I mean, talking about the NFL, first off, I'm kind of still recovering over what I saw on, I think it was Monday, when we
Mm,
did the show, and that was our where we were right and where we were wrong NFL predictions, and I just
yeah,
went
yeah.
over and 0 for 7 in the AFC, man.
Mm,
2 for 14 overall.
yeah.
Definitely. This is why I don't gamble in Vegas, because if I did, I'd probably lose everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of like the draft, I mean, yeah, combine is started already.
Yep.
There's been a lot of rumors going around, a lot of potential big blockbuster news going around, and yeah, there's a lot of great stuff going around. And you're right about the draft in terms of that it's going to be the the two quarterbacks, or three quarterbacks: Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. But I always look at this like guys that could potentially rise. And there's one guy that a lot of people are not really talking about, but a lot of teams are talking about, and that is Brock Bowers. And there's been a lot of
Mm,
rumors lately that potentially that he could jump, from a top 15 pick to potentially a top 7 pick. And like when
mm,
these rumors get started that of guys going from, top 15 to top 7, then it's a couple weeks later, then it's top 5. And I would not be shocked if he gets drafted in the top 5 because I watch him at Georgia, and this kid really reminds me of George Kittle and Travis Kelsey. And he's an absolute monster. And he has surefire hands, and he's a really good blocker, and he does a lot of stuff that you typically don't see from tight ends at his age. So I won't be shocked about that. But man, NFL, the off season, it's springing along. We got free agency beginning, like starting tomorrow or after tomorrow. It's gonna be in 10 days. So a
crazy.
lot of great stuff coming along.
Yeah, like I mentioned before you came on that of course I'm a bit biased with March, but it's probably to me outside of probably October in a way, it's my favorite month of the year. I mean, just obviously my birthday in a way, which is Saturday. So obviously I don't know if I'm gonna do a show on Saturday, maybe the day after. So this might be the last show that I do myself being 27. So I'll take that I guess an accomplishment as a way. But yeah, just overall, as Isaiah had to go. But yeah, like he mentioned, Brock Bowers was just another guy to kind of watch out for it specifically. He is pretty much kind of the number one tight end really in this class, and I'll be excited in terms of see in terms like how he does. As looks like we got Isaiah back here on the program. But yeah, like I mentioned, I just March is just a really good month for just everything. And free agency, obviously baseball, which we'll talk about later on the program. The basketball, obviously, March Madness, obviously as well too. So it's just pretty much everything into one, and it just kind of reminds me of like October in a way where it's just like everything's going on. It's just a great month, and I just can't wait for. Let's see. For me now, it's 25 minutes until March, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, in terms of like you mentioned Brock Bowers, I mean, he's going to be incredible for whoever takes him. I mean, I think that he got interviewed through Super Bowl week, and I think he mentioned the Tennessee Titans as a potential team for him. I can kind of see it because the Titans are kind of that young team, right, that are kind of rebuilding. I think that they need some help at their receiving kind of group. I wouldn't be shocked if they brought back DeAndre Hopkins, who is a free agent, I believe, this offseason. I know that I wouldn't probably see him moving at all if he wasn't a free agent. But yeah, I mean, I think that a team like the Titans, the Giants. There's a lot of teams as it. I mean, that love Brock Barrett's services, and one guy specifically that I know I'm a Ohio State fan, but two guys specifically that I think could be really intriguing, and it's really the two other quarterbacks outside of kind of the top three. And Bo Nix, I want to put Bo Nix in the top kind of tier two. I'm going to go with JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix. I think that those are two guys that, for a lot of teams, kind of in that from 7 to 10, 11, that could potentially trade up for guys like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely going to see like a mad rush for quarterbacks this year. I mean, we typically always see that during the NFL draft. You see a lot of these quarterbacks getting drafted high. But I think also, I really think in terms of the quarterback ban, I really think we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks that don't really figure to be drafted higher in a lot of these drafts usually get drafted a lot higher than usual. And that is the Brock Purdy effect. You saw a lot of these guys last year, Sean Clifford and others that weren't supposed to get drafted or were supposed to get drafted much lower than they were supposed to get drafted, and then they ended up getting drafted higher than they ended up getting. Yeah,
Because he's Spencer Rattler. He could be a potential perfect example because Spencer
exactly.
Rattler kind of early on in his college, for most exec and people around college football, as one of the most gifted quarterbacks that we might have ever seen. And obviously he went, I believe he transferred, if I'm not mistaken. He transferred to Oklahoma. I know for a fact that. I'm trying to remember his first team. But he kind of fell off a bit, and then you're kind of seeing the overall ascending of these other quarterbacks that deservedly so should be in the top three. You guys like May, Caleb, and Daniels, but guys like Spencer Rattler, Bo Nix, and McCarthy and Penix, those guys cannot be overlooked if you're a team specifically still looking for a quarterback. Because, like I said, this is quarterback class is deep, this receiving class is deep, and the offensive line class is deep.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why, like, I think a Bo Nix could potentially go early, a lot earlier than he typically would go in a normal NFL draft, just because of all these teams that want to find the next Brock Purdy. They want to find that diamond in the rough, and they don't want to, make a mistake of passing up a quarterback that, on paper, you would think like, okay, he's not that gifted. He doesn't have the best arm. He doesn't have the fastest legs, but you don't want to pass up on those guys. And I think we'll see a lot of that this year. I think that like guys, Bo Nix, for example, I think will go a lot earlier. Michael Penix is another guy that I think could go early in the first round and start that quarterback rush. There's a guy that I really, and I've believed in him since he was at USC, and that is BYU quarterback Keaton Slovis. I think that kid could also be a guy that goes from potentially being undrafted to maybe like a 5th round or 6th round pick. He doesn't really show out on paper when you look at him, but when you like watch his tape and watch everything that that goes about for him, you just see him and he's like Brock Purdy in a way where he's a gamer and he doesn't have all the greatest attributes, but he just balls out. And if he doesn't get hurt, I think he would be a lot higher in the draft than he is right now. But unfortunately, he got hurt at BYU. He suffered a shoulder injury and it really limited him. But now he's healthy. And I think he's a guy that, a lot of people could see next year potentially starting in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And like I said, this quarterback class is deep. Um, but before we turn it over from the quarterback class to overall what you want to obviously mention about to me off the air in terms of, for me, in terms of what went right and what went wrong, I do want to kind of get a little bit of a overall glimpse of the top three quarterbacks. And in terms of a potential NFL comp for some of these top three guys. So to you specifically about Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, in terms of NFL comp for the three guys, starting with Caleb Williams, who is your NFL comp to him?
For me, Caleb Williams, I'm not going to put him as Patrick Mahomes because that's what a lot of people are saying. He's the next Patrick Mahomes, all this stuff. I mean, the kid makes amazing plays. He really does. And he's really good when it comes to running and throwing as well. He's really athletic. But, the guy that he really reminds me of in a way is a bigger version of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is tremendous throwing the football. He's really, really good. Also, and he's very athletic, running the football and throwing on the run. So I would probably put him as a bigger Kyler than the next Patrick Mahomes, just because if you say he's the next Patrick Mahomes, well, then he's going to have to make all these incredible, unbelievable plays, which Caleb does. But Caleb also turns the football over a lot. So he's kind of like that high risk, high reward type of a quarterback.
Let's welcome James here onto the program. James, my friend, hope you're doing well.
Yeah, good. It's good to be here. I was wanting to get in here as soon as I could.
No problem. Obviously, we're kind of starting with the NFL, and we're kind of starting off with the NFL draft talk, James, because we haven't really had the chance to kind of talk about that lately. And I know the draft isn't for like another month or so, but there's obviously been like a lot of rumors and rumblings kind of going on lately. Of course, the combine is this weekend. So, James, and overall for you, really quickly, my question before we kind of continue on with the topics we're talking about, what is kind of standing out specifically to you in terms of the latest with the draft and the talk rumors?
Well, I'm kind of shocked at Caleb Williams saying that, I would play for the Bears after we heard that he won it. Just a change of heart. I think just to be that number one pick is special. We've seen people, just fight for that right to do that and to put themselves out there. Like, it doesn't matter what situation. I just want to be the number one pick. A lot of times it's worked out, but most of the times it hasn't worked out. No one's like lived up to that number one hype. And it depends what's around you too. But I think we always knew whichever quarterback goes number one to the Bears, they're in the best situation out of the first, 4 or 5 quarterbacks of those teams that would go in a row. I don't see Arizona getting a quarterback, even though we were talking about that the other day, me and Isaiah, with Knicks and the Cardinals are doing their homework on them, but I believe everybody's doing homework on everybody just in case.
Right.
Everybody has a plan, not only A, but a B, C, D, and E, F, G. But that's kind of the most surprising news, just because I figure with Caleb Williams, he's, letting everyone talk except him in his group. Yep. But we've, kind of actually heard from him. And I think that's surprising. And then also, I know he won the Heisman, but Jalen Daniels, how much he's climbed up in the boards so far, or as of late, I should say. That's kind of a surprise just because of the way LSU fared, but he ended up still getting that Heisman. So, and then also I'm kind of shocked there's no real talk about Michael Penix Jr. From what I hear, from what I heard at least, he's like a second rounder, but I'm not sure if that's the case. I think teams will actually draft somebody too high. I really think that's going to happen with the quarterbacks. And I know Isaiah's boy Slovis is out there, and you have to believe he goes at least in the second or third round.
Late, yeah, I'd say late second, early third.
Like, that has to happen. People go off of your latest performance. So I'm kind of surprised he hasn't had the talk there. But everybody else, we just know this was a quarterback, late at draft. I'm not surprised, but I saw that the Bears, and I thought it was fine with their 9th pick. They're rumored to get Rome Odozie from Washington, or or the receiver from LSU.
Neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was like, you know what? That's fine.
Mhm.
I think that's okay. Yeah, I just feel like the Bears will work out of this just fine. But I'm just waiting for the week before where we have trades, where we have
Yep.
something go crazy. That's what I'm waiting for mostly.
And really quickly, James, as you mentioned the Bears, do you guys personally believe that they're going to move on from Justin Fields when it's all said and done?
I'll go yeah, just because.
There's been a lot of smoke out there this week, just kind of just
Right.
running out there. So, I mean, like I mentioned, and I've been kind of on the Justin Fields to Atlanta train for a long time. They're a young team. I think that obviously he played at Georgia, because so he kind of knows that overall playing down there. But yeah, we'll have to kind of see specifically how that would go. So, let's kind of go backtrack in terms of our topic. And James, before we came on, we're kind of doing some NFL comps for the top 3
Mhm.
quarterbacks here in this class. So for you, Caleb Williams, who's your NFL comp for him?
Damn it. I don't, because I don't want to go with Mahomes just because I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's just surprised everyone.
I went with Kyler, James.
Yeah, I like that too because of his demeanor, just because of things you've
Yeah.
heard, and having to do literally everything, like run, pass, just scramble for first downs, dive for first downs, get out of the pocket and try to make something happen when you don't have a lot around you. I think Williams has kind of felt that already. So I do like Murray over Mahomes, but I'm trying to think of someone else who's kind of like that. But I would
have one
say
guy that might be a little bit crazy if it's not Mahomes.
I
So
I want to no.
I got a controversial one.
all right, so I'll go. So James, obviously, if you think about it, for me, and this might be a little crazy, I'm going to go potentially full Isaiah here. Aaron Rodgers. I think he has kind of Aaron Rodgers in a way because I think personally he has a little bit of the off the field type of things like Rodgers had. You hear kind of today about how the medical and stuff, he might not be doing. And Rodgers kind of has that little diva drama ish, but when
Mhm.
he's playing specifically, he's very gifted. He might not be as in the pocket kind of feel as Rodgers, but I just think of the overall out of the pocket, he has a lot of Rodgers arm strength feel to him specifically. So I kind of have that. I know it's kind of off the rails. I feel like Mahomes is kind of more the comp specifically. Obviously, with a little bit of the attitude. I don't think Mahomes, obviously, I think most of the time he's humble. I'm going to go, yeah, Rodgers has a little bit of, Caleb has a little bit of Rodgers, I'd say, in him. That's just me.
Man, I'm kind of torn, but if Isaiah has his,
Yeah, Isaiah, if you want to, go ahead.
Caleb's not as controversial as this guy is off the field. But on the field, he really reminds me of his playing style, and that is Colin Kaepernick. In his prime, Kaepernick very good at running around. Strong arm, can just make these just crazy plays, throwing off his back foot and you flick it like 70 yards down the field. He reminds me of Kaepernick in a way.
I like that one. Yeah.
All right,
I was going with like Steve McNair, but I think he was stronger, and a lot of people don't know who that was. But I like either Mahomes or, better yet, Murray or Kaepernick. I like that better.
All right, let's do the next two, and these two feel a little bit more. I'd say easier, but they kind of feel more. At least for me, I feel like these kind of are more easier to kind of do. Drake May. So for me, Drake May, I think my NFL comp to him is Josh Allen. I think that he just has that overall build to him. He can make the plays in the pocket. He could roll outside the pocket when he wants to. He gets a little crazy, specifically in terms of trying to do pretty much the bigger plays than not. but it just has the built like Josh Allen. And if it's not Josh Allen, to me, it's Justin Herbert. I think that's kind of the other comp for him. So I'll go to you first, James. Who do you feel like your NFL comp is for Drake May?
There is times, I'm only saying times, where he throws like Aaron Rodgers, but he runs like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
That's what I've garnered. So if you have a facsimile of both, I think you put that together. The only thing is I hope he does better than Mitchell Trubisky and not be as afraid to throw the ball down the field. That's the only thing you can hope of, because remember a Carolina quarterback coming out of there. We were kind of hoping for the same things from Trubisky, and that didn't happen. So with May, you're hoping that, hey, this is the guy that can do both things, run and pass. So to me, I feel like it's a mix of Rodgers, and then you have Allen with the ability. But maybe more Allen than Rodgers, I think, because he'll get out of the pocket, will Drake May. So I like yours. I like Josh Allen.
All right, Isaiah, go ahead.
You guys ready for this?
Oh, boy.
Drake May reminds me of a more athletic Brock Purdy. In the way that both are good passers, and both are really good, like outside of the pocket. They do a lot of their damage, and they do a lot of they have a lot of fun out creating plays with their legs, throwing outside the pocket or running around and making plays. So for me, that's kind of who Drake May does remind me of, Brock Purdy in a way. I get the Herbert comparisons, the Allen one. Those are pretty accurate. Aaron Rodgers maybe, but I feel like May's not really that gunslinger that Aaron Rodgers is. He's like a mid gunslinger. He doesn't really sling the ball down the field a lot. He's more of like that, like he'll kill you with his legs, he'll kill you with his arm as well. Type of quarterback. So I probably would just lean towards Brock Purdy.
All right. Now obviously the third one that I feel like potentially out of all the three might have the most upside, and that's Jaden Daniels. A guy specifically Heisman winner that he just won. LSU obviously, they were playing, I believe, in Tampa for the bowl this year. He didn't play, but for me specifically, my comp to Jaden Daniels is Lamar Jackson. Just kind of that overall build where very skilled and athletic. Kind of his deep ball I feel like is a little bit better than Lamar, but just this overall feel of shiftiness and everything like that for them. So I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson for Daniels. How about you, Isaiah?
You guys are gonna call me so crazy for this pick, but Jaden Daniels reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. In the fact that he's tremendous throwing the football down the field, and also he's really good at running around and making plays. I mean, I can Lamar Jackson comparisons, that makes a lot of sense. Josh Allen, that makes a lot of sense. But Jaden Daniels, I watched that LSU Alabama game, and I know James and Ben are just completely shocked about that pick. But I watched that LSU Bama game. They were in it primarily because of Jaden Daniels. I mean, Jaden Daniels made these throws, and you're just like, how on earth did he? First of all, how on earth did he not get sacked? And then how on earth did he manage to throw the football down the field like that? Yeah. So I would say quarterback comp for Jaden Daniels. Give me number 15, Patrick Mahomes.
All right, I won't say anything else about that. James, go ahead.
Can we ban Isaiah from mentioning the two Super Bowl quarterbacks the rest of the program?
We'll try.
Or when it comes to any draft quarterbacks, I just think that we have to do that.
I can't make any promises, James, but I'll do my best.
And Tom Brady. He can't mention Brady at all either.
Yeah.
Then we'll be okay. Okay.
All right.
It's crazy though, because I remember Jaden Daniels was hated by his own teammates at Arizona State. And because I watched him play San Diego State in the Pac-12, and it's crazy how it found his way at LSU. Maybe he matured. I don't know what the hell went on, but this might sound crazy too. I think he's a skinnier Dak Prescott because he can make plays with his legs, but then he can air it out.
Nothing more realistic.
then he's not as explosive with his feet like Lamar Jackson is, and he's not there yet to Mahomes status when he passes. So I kind of want to see a skinnier Prescott, because we know Prescott, he's kind of built bigger. Maybe Daniels will be eventually, and then that'll really help my case. So I'm gonna say Prescott for Daniels.
Yeah, and next show, we will get through picks, presumably, I believe, 4 through about 8, 9. We're going to try to complete the top 10, before next week. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of receivers we'll talk about. We'll talk about some offensive tackles and so forth. But let's transit over now, kind of get away from the NFL draft stuff, and we'll talk about the obviously in terms of my what went right and went wrong before we get to the other stuff, because I wasn't able to stay up with you guys for the remainders. So I kind of wanted to quickly compare kind of my overall stuff. I know you guys still kind of have your season predictions from last time, but for me specifically, we'll start with the AFC West. And I had the Chiefs, obviously. I pretty much was kind of keyed up on that. I really didn't feel specifically confident in the other teams kind of overtaking a guy like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And that's essentially kind of be my team until somebody else beats them, to kind of stay that way. So I had the Chiefs as my AFC West team. Let's go to the NFC West. I had the 49ers. That pretty much was a given, at least. The Seahawks, I think, just have a little bit of yeah, Isaiah, I know you had the Broncos, my friend. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I had the 49ers. They obviously were just the pick for me specifically. And I know obviously I'll kind of get you guys' overall pick. I did get the chance to kind of listen the end of the last show, so I have a little bit of feel how you guys picked, but obviously if you guys want to say some other things, by all means, that's fine. Now the AFC South, this is where I started getting a little bit wrong here. Now I had the Jaguars. I think that the Jaguars specifically to me, and yeah, James, I know that you raised your hand on that, but yeah, the Jaguars just seemed the team to me, I think for most of the year, that they had a great year last year, and then they literally the last 3-4 weeks they just completely fell apart. I just don't know specifically how it happened. Their last game was against the Titans, and I think that a lot of people, they just had to find a way to win that one. The Steelers wouldn't have been in the playoffs; it would have been the Jaguars. So that's obviously kind of frustrating and underwhelming for them. The NFC South, I had the Saints. The Saints obviously were just kind of that other team. They kind of had the Derek Carr experience, as I commented off the air with you guys. It goes up and down. You just have no idea in terms of how. And sorry, exactly. He's the Carr kind of type of experience. You just don't know if it's going to be, revved up or if it's going to be stalled when it comes to when you're in the parking lot, essentially. So that's kind of the Derek Carr experience. The Saints, I think, are still going to be fine, but they're an absolute deep capital. I mean, if you can see in the offseason, they're restructuring guys left and right. So that pretty much will say that. The AFC North, I had the Bengals. I just didn't think that the Bengals, well, obviously when healthy, I think just they're one of the best teams in that division. Obviously the Ravens were the team, and they looked like the AFC team for most of the year. But when Joe Burrow got hurt, that pretty much wrapped up any type of hopes that they had. Browning obviously showed out. He showed promise, but when you get a guy out like Joe Burrow, I mean, that pretty much affects not only just the overall offense, but it's the overall demeanor of the team. NFC North, I had the Lions. What do you guys have for the NFC North, really quickly? You have the Lions too? All right, awesome.
Yeah.
So for my other network, I'm looking at specifically out of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 6 people, only 2 other people in my other network had. It was just me and some other guy had the Lions. Everybody else won the Vikings. So yeah, I kind of felt out on the Lions specifically on the Lions train. They finished strong last year, even though they missed the playoffs. And I think Dan Campbell, I know that obviously had his bad hiccup in the playoffs. But they just have a great squad for sure for years. And I think that just keep on getting better. The AFC East, I had the Bills. So I had that right. I wasn't too high on obviously Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. You just can't predict specifically how that one unfolded. I obviously had the Jets making the playoffs, but I didn't have them enough to win the division. So yeah, I had the Bills there. The NFC East, I had Isaiah's so-called fraud team, which you were right about. That's the Eagles. The Eagles specifically, like last year, they felt like the team, that I thought they were going to bounce back and not have that hangover, which, by the way, was in my predictions that the Eagles wouldn't have a Super Bowl hangover. But like I mentioned in the comments to you guys, I blame one guy and one guy only, and that's Matt Patricia. Because that defense, essentially, ever since that he came a part of that team, completely fell apart. All right. So, and then in terms of the wildcard teams, the AFC wildcard teams, I had the Dolphins, I had the Ravens, and I had the Jets. So 2 out of the 3 I had essentially in there. The Jets, obviously, the great defense. Aaron Rodgers, I was assuming he was going to be healthy.
Yep.
Of course, it didn't happen. So, I kind of was okay there. Now let's go to the NFC, and this is kind of where I struggled a little bit worse. I had the Panthers. They're obviously.
Don't worry, you're not the only one that had that.
Yep, that's what I'm like. I'm kind of going a little bit better here, but then I came down to that. I'm like, yeah, that's when it really hit me. My other network was absolutely just giving me crap about that pick. But the Panthers. I thought this past offseason with Bryce Young, first overall pick, I thought that they would obviously show promise, and obviously I was completely wrong. I think with Frank Reich and stuff, it would have, helped out things, but it just didn't work out the whole entire season. So that was a smart miss. Then I had Dallas as my NFC wild card because I had the Eagles win the division. And then I had the Seahawks. The Seahawks were just as pretty much outside looking in.
Barely missed it.
So it wasn't like I completely missed out like a lot on this. It was just either got teams had injuries or just kind of tough luck. I mean, obviously the Panthers is kind of my worst one as a whole. Now let's go to the number 1 overall pick. So I had the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I think for many people, that's the team. Yep. I thought that they were going to be kind of the team, that was going to pretty much be the worst team overall. But that obviously didn't work out. My most overrated team and most underrated team. So my most overrated team, I had the Steelers, and that pretty much turned out to be great because I wasn't a big fan of their quarterback situation at all. And I knew for a fact once they got into the playoffs, went to Buffalo, especially with those conditions, no, there was no chance they were going to beat Josh Allen and that team and that building. Now let's go to most overrated.
I hate to interrupt you, but so you talked about your most overrated team being the Steelers. I don't know if you had a chance to watch this, but this just shows you how bad my predictions are. And I think James remembers this. I had the Kansas City Chiefs as my most overrated team, and just so happens.
That's not the worst though, because you think about the Chiefs, and they moved on from Tyreek Hill, and then you just feel like they kind of were starting to be having a down year. Yeah. But now you just kind of have to see if like they kind of have the Brady feel of like, oh, he put some talent offside of Brady and he can still do it. And you saw in terms of what Mahomes is doing, and he's essentially the same way, where as long as you have him and you have Andy Reid, anything could happen. And it pretty much showed that he went on the road 2 playoff games and then just beat essentially one of the best teams in football, and that's the Niners. So that's pretty much that. So you can't really doubt any of them. And I felt foolish that I bet essentially against him in the championship game. But I went and I'm like, I'm not betting against him in the Super Bowl. And I proved right. Even when they were down at halftime. And when Steven, I know that you're one of my great friends here on the network, but you're essentially just like quarterback. It's more of a team that matters. It's the quarterback that matters at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And as great as the Niners played, it's still, as long as you have the quarterback and a guy like Mahomes, anything could happen. So I obviously don't give you a lot of crap there, Isaiah, because I don't think a lot of people expected that, to be honest with the Chiefs. With a lot of the moves that they kind of, didn't have there. So I won't knock you too much on that. All right. So the Ranger here, my most underrated team. Oh boy, I had the Panthers. So obviously the Panthers, I just thought that they were going to have a great story. And like I said, I was wrong. On my AFC title game, so of course I had one team in this one. My other team was the Bengals. I had the Chiefs over the Bengals. Wow, me and James are really hitting it. Same predictions here. NFC title game, I had the Niners over the Eagles.
I had Cowboys losing to San Francisco.
Okay.
For AFC Championship, I was way off. I like always.
Yeah,
Uh, I had Jets and Jags, and both teams
on
didn't make
Madden.
the playoffs. And then I think the NFC Championship for me, I had Niners and Saints. So I did have one team in it.
It's
Saints.
not too far off though.
Yeah, that was way off.
All right. This is where award predictions, I got all of these wrong. And I pretty much, I think, mostly all of these wrong. So NFL
Same.
MVP, I had Patrick Mahomes. So I think technically I was kind of half right because he was the Super Bowl MVP. So I guess
That's what matters the most.
Right. So I guess I was technically kind of right. This pick specifically looked well until the playoffs for me, and that's Coach of the Year. That was Dan Campbell. I had Dan Campbell essentially as my Coach of the Year.
Same.
Essentially, after the way that he brought that team last year. This year, of course, he had a great season. Don't get me wrong, but then, of course, the playoffs happened, and he didn't look like the Coach of the Year. He looked more like I'm trying to think specifically who would do that. Let's say Kyle Shanahan. Sorry, I want to put your coach on the spot there, but a coach that would love to make boneheaded in-game decisions. I'll say that. All right. Let's go to Offensive Player of the Year. I had Justin Jefferson. I thought that he was going to stay. He just never stays healthy, guys, consistently. As great as the talent he is, and speaking of Justin Jefferson, I know we'll talk about maybe next week about potentially his like NFL like rumors and stuff because I know that there's been a little bit on that. As James, we just had now you have you on here until probably Isaiah comes back, but yeah, I had Justin Jefferson on just because I thought that he was stay healthy, and it just never really happened. My defensive player of the year on Michael Parsons.
Same.
Parsons, we're just pretty much a lot of these that we're having right now are pretty much similar. But yeah, Mike is obviously one of my favorites. I thought that in the playoffs he kind of wasn't as effective. I don't know if it was just me, but yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't.
yeah, he just
Remember?
he gave up.
Remember that play he had against the Packers in that game where he had a chance to rush in and he literally hesitated and fell back, and then a big play happened.
Yeah,
The whole defense was just bad, and he's a leader of it. And then what didn't help him was what he said, on his podcast.
Yep.
It's basically like me against the whole defense. So I'm so disappointed in him.
Yeah, no, he had a really rough finish the last couple of games of his season. My offensive rookie of the year was Bryce Young. Number one overall pick. You would have thought maybe that he was going to have promise, and turned out it was CJ Stroud. I mean, in terms of my rookie of the year, that it should have been. But it's really cool to see though, James, because they asked CJ Stroud about if he fully believes in Bryce Young, and it's cool that he didn't throw him under the bus. He kind of actually was just like, Bryce Young, I still think is a promising future. And just a matter of terms of getting the right pieces around him. He's still young, so it's a matter of just like. You just never know. Maybe CJ Stroud essentially next year just has a fall off, which I don't think is going to happen. And Bryce Young essentially, they kind of do like a 180. I just don't see it happening. But, potentially kind of see that. You never know.
I'm always worried about like sophomore slumps, but I'm always hopeful for those players that had bad rookie years to learn under a year under their belt. I'm really looking forward to what Bryce Young can do because we saw at the end of the year, he had 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He had that good game against Green Bay.
Did.
Got him to overtime. So there were little shows of promise. Now, what I like about CJ Stroud, he tells the truth in his, interviews. And he's really humble, too, about that. And I remember a time years ago where players would just destroy each other. But I don't think that's happening now because everyone has a podcast. So that's really uplifting to hear that about CJ and about what he thinks about Bryce Young because they're connected forever with where they were drafted.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's go to defensive rookie or Jalen Carter. I thought that he was solid overall.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it didn't work out. Christian Gonzalez is going to be my honorary mention, even though that he specifically played 2 games. The guy specifically is a stud. And obviously, that's not maybe myself being a Patriot fan, like being a homer type of Pats fan saying that, but he essentially went toe-to-toe against Tyreek Hill. There's not many defensive players, especially as a young kid, to do that. I mean, that's just a lot of praise. And I'm pretty sure that even on Tyreek Hill's end, he essentially praised the kid. So it's really exciting to kind of hear. My comeback player of the year, I had DeMar Hamlin. Obviously that didn't work out. I know for a fact that on my other show, I'm pretty sure when we talked about this, that Joe Flacco, I thought should have been kind of picked specifically, and he deserved it because he played more, obviously on the field. DeMar Hamlin, I feel like should have gotten recognition, which I think he did.
He did.
But I just didn't think that DeMar Hamlin just didn't do enough,
No.
specifically to kind of just get that award. As great of course his story was, it wasn't obviously to be in the case. All right, really quickly before we kind of move on with the other stuff, my preseason take, which is kind of a funny type of thing that we like to do.
Oh yeah.
And everything. So my coldest take to fiery hot take that we did. So my coldest take I had was actually right. I had Russell Wilson was going to miss the playoffs again in Denver. Of course, Russell Wilson right now is currently trying to figure out his next team, if there is a next team for him. He apparently reportedly is looking potentially as a vet minimum. And apparently right now, when I'm pretty sure I don't know who asked him in terms of where he wants to be, but I think he said he wants to still be in Denver because I think that's essentially kind of that's where I think that he essentially wants to kind of be valued, and he was talking about how he wants to kind of win a couple Super Bowls and stuff like that. We'll have to see specifically about that. But apparently, speaking of Russell Wilson, Sean Payton had some interesting comments that
yes.
he is going to, in the next couple of weeks, make a decision about what they do with Russell Wilson. Essentially, do they ever kind of bring him back? I think that potentially they're going to go a younger quarterback route. But that's just me specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, what do you think about that, James, in terms of Russell Wilson?
I heard the comments as well. I heard it on a radio show, Waking Up, and I think it was on Dan Patrick or Callan Coward. They played the soundbite from the Combine. I think Sean Payton was there, and he literally mentioned, we're looking to, find somebody else other from Russell Wilson. Not in those words, but he said something just like that, but more professional. So you could just tell that he's done with him. He wasn't his quarterback. There was dysfunction from the start, about the parking lot spot, his own office. Peyton didn't want him to have all that. He wanted Russell Wilson to be one of the guys that are not privileged because he didn't play like it. He didn't deserve it. And Peyton sees that. And I just think just because he's not his guy, Peyton doesn't want him. Now, I heard the thing about it on his podcast or somebody's podcast about Russell Wilson and his crew, Team 3 or whatever it's called, whatever crap that is.
Yeah.
Saying I really want to stay there and see this thing through, but I think it's a total opposite feeling from the organization and Peyton. I know me and Isaiah were talking about where the landing spots would be for him. And I keep thinking Atlanta if it's not Justin Fields. I think anyone that has an abundance of talent, a good offensive line that's stuck together for a while like the Falcons have had, I think that would do better, but I think it all comes down to Russell Wilson. Like how he fares. Remember the first year he was scared to run up the middle like he used to in Seattle.
Yep.
And then last year he showed some strides, but then he faltered at the end, got benched. I just really, we don't know right now. For me, I think he's still going to be there in Denver until a trade happens or team buyout or something. I
watched two teams about Russell Wilson. I'm curious to see about Pittsburgh. I don't know specifically. Yeah. I don't know if Pittsburgh really has their set on Kenny Pickett right now. I don't. Mason Rudolph. So the Justin Fields, and this is obviously where we're talking to draft and to kind of this stuff now, is Justin Fields, they obviously keep him and they say draft and trade up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Say that kind of happens because reportedly the Cardinals might be trading their pick, potentially. We don't know specifically about that. And say if the Bears essentially kind of go double, kind of like what the Texans did. Remember, they had the number 1 and 2 where they got Stroud and Will Anderson. the Bears could be potentially kind of a similar thing like that. So if Russell Wilson, essentially in his market, if Justin Fields goes to a team like Atlanta, okay, well, there's not many teams out there, but potentially a team like the Steelers or a
Minnesota.
team like Denver or Minnesota too. That could be interesting because of Kirk Cousins. So it'll be really fascinating. I mean, there's going to be a lot of situations going on with that.
I can't wait.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be fun. My warm take was the Eagles do not have a Super Bowl hangover. And like I mentioned, when I had it predicted, it looked good for a while, right? The Eagles for the first 9-10 weeks felt like the team of destiny, the best team in football. And then, of course, they brought in a guy like Matt Patricia, and the vibes completely faltered. They obviously, the Seattle game, even like their last stretch, when they essentially kind of had like, I wouldn't say like easier like opponents, but like the teams are just like, they should have been able to take care of. And they lost to the Cardinals. They almost lost to the Giants the first time, and they barely got out of that. And then they lost to the Giants the second time. I know that they didn't have Jalen Hurts, but something, just the overall vibe changed. Somebody was saying this, I think, off the air about Sirianni after the Chiefs win. Sirianni obviously saying the mic'd up stuff to the fans. Ever since that happened, the vibe just completely changed off for them. It's almost like karma kind of happens to that team. So that's pretty much kind of the way I saw that. My hot take was that Bryce Young was going to lead the Panthers to the playoffs. That, of course, bit me in the ass. And then my fiery hot take was Aaron Donald was going to be traded to the Eagles.
I remember that.
That, of course, the Rams obviously were kind of a team that you kind of felt like, well, did they obviously what's going on with Stafford here and there? And the Rams, I thought that for kind of the stretch run, they played really well. I mean, Kyron Williams came back. He was kind of their piece specifically to kind of like let them go, ran them go, and he did well. And they should be a really interesting team for sure this offseason. All right,
I can go through mines if you want me to, real quick.
Yeah, if you want to, really quickly, just because there's obviously some other stuff I want to mention.
The AFC again. I had Cincinnati. I felt like I had all the award stuff was just gone from there. And shout out to Cleveland for making it through.
Yep.
Buffalo, Kansas City, Jacksonville, like we all mentioned. I had Detroit, Philly, New Orleans. Did you have San Francisco, right, for your divisional winner?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all did that. And then in the AFC wildcard, I had the same as yours. I thought Jets wouldn't be good enough to beat Buffalo, but they would still make it in.
Yeah, their defense is solid. So
yeah. NFC wildcards, I had Dallas and Seattle. Who was your third?
So for me, I had the Panthers.
Okay, I had the Giants based off of last year, and I should never do that with the Seahawks as well.
Something about myself living near New York sports. Something about just never know about them. So that's kind of why I backed out with the Giants.
That was good. I should have did that. But I thought with Brian Dable and with Jones, like not really having to go as hard, maybe that really hurt getting that deal. My first pick was the same as yours. I thought Murray was not even going to come back. I thought he would take the whole year off. The most overrated teams, I had the Jets and the Eagles. I just felt like, Rodgers is going to, hype them all up to bring them down. And in Philly, with all the people they lost, I thought that was going to be that thing, and it ended up happening. Underrated, I had Carolina and Pittsburgh, and I was wrong about both of those. Again, the entitled game, Kansas City, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Dallas. Super Bowl, I should have switched at the last minute, but I picked San Francisco.
Same thing.
I should have. I never, like we mentioned, never doubt. Mahomes right now with Kelsey and Reed.
I don't think they'll ever do it specifically if they play each other. I just think I'll just always go with the Chiefs if they play the Niners. They just seem to be in their head at this point in time.
Didn't they meet in the regular season in Santa Clara and the Chiefs kind of blew them out?
No, they didn't. Not this year.
It was the year before then. 2022. Okay, so my MVP was Burrow because I thought he would. Link up with my offensive player pick of the year was Chase. I thought they would link up together well. Whoops. Dan Campbell, head coach of the year. I still think he should have, or D'Amico Ryans. It should have been coaches of the year, honestly. Mentioned Parsons. We differ on the offensive rookie of the year. I had Robinson from Atlanta, but the coach didn't know how to use him. Simple as that.
Now he's fired.
Will Anderson. Now he has a tougher job, though. The offensive coordinator with Pittsburgh, because everybody hates whoever's in that spot. Defensive rookie of the year, I had Will Anderson Jr. I just thought, okay. He was drafted the highest. He made some great special teams plays. Comeback player of the year, I had Russell Wilson. I should have never drank the Kool-Aid of others.
Oh, man.
I thought Sean Payton and him were going to work out just fine. No.
That's all right.
The coldest take I had, Pittsburgh would be under 500. And they messed around and got in somehow. I should have took that into effect. My warm one was Dallas losing to San Francisco in the playoffs for the third straight year. And then my hot one I got right, actually, that with all the hype, remember Dan Orlovsky said the Bears wouldn't make the playoffs, but somehow Fields would be MVP. So I went the opposite route on that. I said the Bears would be in last place and Fields will be benched. That ended up happening. So that was my predictions, and I'm happy I got some of them right. But just like me and on the last show we did with me and Isaiah, man, there was a lot of X's instead of check marks.
Yeah, let me take a look really quick in terms of how I did. So, let me see. The West I got right. The NFC West I got right. So that's 2. The South I got wrong. So that's 2 out of 3. The NFC South I got wrong. So that's 2 out of 4. NFC North I got wrong. 2 out of 5. NFC North I got right. So 3 out of 5. NFC East I got right. So 4 out of 5. NFC East I got wrong. So 4 of 6. NFC East I got right. No, I'm sorry. Divisions, I got, let me see, 4 out of 7 right. So not terribly bad. Could have been worse. But obviously the rest I won't do, but I'll take it for that specifically. All right. Now let's kind of really quickly go on to kind of the running back market, James, before we go over to baseball. So I read the other day, because I know that the franchise tag stuff's coming around, and apparently Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, let me see, Derrick Henry, trying to remember the others, Tony Pollard. I don't know if I'm missing one.
Ezekiel Elliott?
No,
he's not on that tier anymore.
No, it was no worries. It's a core of a couple other guys, I think. But regardless, so guys like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler. That's another one.
He's out there.
Those guys specifically, reportedly, are not going to be franchise tag, which essentially more likely than not, they are going to be finding a new team.
Yeah.
And about now, because it's March here in the East Coast. Let's go. Yeah. So probably like 12, 13 days at this point in time, because I think the opening or tampering period is the 13th or something, 14th of March, whatever's the same week. But they're essentially going to be starting to negotiate with other teams. Now, I'm going to ask you specifically in terms of some of these running backs. How do you feel like that market's going to be kind of overall looked for football? Because I know for a fact they always say in sports to never pay running backs. But I will say specifically, at least in terms of some guys that I think are going to stay and some guys are going to go, and I believe the 4 or 5 guys. So I think Josh Jacobs is going to stick around. I think that he's just kind of best fit for the Raiders. That's just me specifically. I know.
I'm torn. I want him to stay, but I'm worried it's gonna hurt down the road. Like 2 or 3 years, it's gonna hurt more than help.
I'll be curious to see about that. The contracts, like I said, a lot of the free agent running back, or in the contract specifically, aren't always pretty. Now Saquon Barkley, and I read this really fun rumor, I think today or yesterday, that Saquon Barkley has been talking with the Texans. The Texans be a really fun spot. So you have him with CJ Stroud matched, and then you have obviously the nice young receiving core that you have. That would be a great fun fit there. Saquon Barkley, obviously, when he is healthy, he is a top 3 running back in the league, top 4 probably, and you put him in that overall type of system, that would be absolutely incredible. So that's something that I did read.
And they already have Pierce there.
Yeah,
Wow.
Singletary, I think, is going to be a free agent. I mean, obviously, you bring a guy like
Yeah.
Saquon in, maybe Pierce could be potentially as a backup, but
Yeah.
I obviously saw that, and I would love to see that specific possible happen. And then my other team for Saquon, if he didn't go to Houston, oh man, I don't think he'd go to Dallas, even though Dallas would probably walk with Pollard. I don't know. I really like that. Maybe Baltimore. I mean, Saquon and Baltimore, I think would be really fun. You'd have
I can see
Lamar,
that.
kind of a little fun field there. But yeah, I do think that Saquon. With it being said, I think that he's going to move on from the Giants, just because I don't think
I hope.
Giants. I don't think the Giants are a team specifically to me that are going to go crazy with running back consistently. As great as he is, just cannot stand the field. So, what do you think about that?
Okay, so yeah, for Saquon, I just want him to go elsewhere. I feel like he's having to do too much with the Giants. He's the offense in some years. Then you also, blame turf or don't. It wears on him, I guess. So Saquon, for predicting, I love that Texan one. That would elevate them. It would help their locker room. It would help the young guys, I think, even more than having Ryan's there. They could work together on really helping each other out.
Mm.
And I like that. I don't think the Bengals can do anything. They're cash strapped because of Higgins, so they have to figure that out.
Yep.
I always, if Najee Harris didn't really go hard last year, I thought maybe Barkley go to the Steelers, and help out Warren. But I always feel like the Jags always needed a good running back. I know they have ETN, but you can have a good backup. But I don't know. They spent so much on receivers, though.
I was going to potentially say Miami, but I feel like Mostert kind of...
Yeah, he's good there.
Kind of bought in there, so that kind of takes them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Texans, like I mentioned with that rumor that I mentioned, apparently, too, he talked with CJ Stroud. On top
I like
of
that,
so
yeah.
I just kind of feel like that would be awesome there. So, yeah, Barkley, I think, to me, goes somewhere else. Let's talk Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, to me, there's two teams that completely just speak Derrick Henry to me. Dallas and the Ravens. Two teams that essentially need that key running back. I think Pollard's going to walk, and I'll talk about in terms of where I think he's going to go. And I think that you pair him up, that kind of takes away some of the pressure with Dak Prescott's arm. You kind of use that offensive line to your advantage. Derrick Henry, I still think that still has some left in the tank. And then the Ravens, of course. You look at the Ravens, James. Lamar Jackson's obviously probably the most dynamic running back. Well, I don't say people call him a running back, but the most dynamic quarterback in terms of with his legs, outside potentially Josh Allen. But you put a guy like Derrick Henry in there, then you're just like, now you have to kind of worry specifically if you're a defense in terms of if Lamar is obviously going to take it, or if a guy like Derrick Henry is going to take it. That would essentially do wonders for a guy. But these are essentially both guys, whether it's Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. So what do you think about Derrick Henry? Where do you think he would go?
I love that. I think the first question, though, the media would speculate, or the first speculation would be like, can Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry work well together? That would be the first question. So I'm kind of hesitant on that. He screams Minnesota to me. Because remember, they just released Matheson today.
They did, yeah.
So there's a spot open. I know I can say that for every damn.
They have Chandler, their other running back, right?
Yeah, they have. I guess he did better. I guess.
Okay.
But remember, Matheson was supposed to be the guy. I mean, they took down, Cook's poster and put up Matheson. Now they have to take Matheson's banner down. So I like him to the Vikings. Whatever quarterback they're going to, if they use a young one, especially in the draft or something.
Yeah.
they would need a horse back there. And Henry reminds me of one of those thoroughbreds that just runs for days, hard to stop. You have to kill him to stop him. So, yeah, I'm going Henry to Minnesota.
All right, I like it. All right, Tony Pollard. This one to me, I have an interesting spot for him that might do really well for this team. I don't know if it'll work, but for me, Tony Pollard screams Buffalo. I think that with him and that offense, you have Josh Allen there. That running game specifically, James, you have James Cook. But it's just like James Cook to me is kind of the running back that kind of could do both catching and running. But Buffalo, I think specifically, they're trying to win a championship. And, you bring a guy like Tony Pollard in. I mean, the more weapons, the better for a guy like Josh Allen. And, I mean, I think it's more unrealistic than not for a lot of other teams, but I just don't know. It screams Buffalo to me. If not Buffalo, oh, man. He could just stay in Dallas. I mean, I could still see it happening specifically. Obviously, just he probably likes being there, but I just feel like for a lot of these guys, specifically running backs, I mean, they just don't want to pay long-term deals with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I mean, what about you? What do you think about Pollard?
Let me do say this. First about Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Something may scream out. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say Philadelphia, but they would have to make some moves.
No. Like I've heard like speculate. I mean, it's not like probably his most likely place, but I could see it a little bit there. I wouldn't be against it
To help out Hurts.
Yeah, they love to run the football. So I mean, it's not unrealistic, but yeah.
And then, I think this year will be better than last year when it comes to running backs getting paid. Remember last year they bonded together on a podcast and tried to stop the league in a way. I think you won't see that this year.
Yeah.
For Tony Pollard, he should stay in Dallas and take whatever. But something tells me someone's going to overpay for him, and then we won't see him after 2 years. My feeling where players go, their careers go to die. Do you know where that is?
I know. Wait.
It's a white helmet.
White helmet. Man.
They're in the top 5 of the draft this year, too, by the way. It's a bird.
Oh, Cardinals.
I have a horrible feeling someone's going to overpay Tony Pollard.
That screams Cardinals.
Yeah,
it does. Because I think they'll keep Kyler. I don't know who their running back. Oh, James Conner. They still have Conner. Is he a free agent though? Is Conner?
Yeah, he is. So that's why I put 2 and 2 together. I'm thinking someone's going to overpay for Pollard. He's going to go to a worse situation. So yeah, I'm thinking Cardinals. Sadly.
Okay. I mean, they could get their very own new Larry Fitzgerald and Marvin Harrison Jr. So, maybe something there. I mean, it's actually not a bad place, James. I mean, I know that careers do go to still go to die there, but still.
Right now it is.
Yeah. So, we'll obviously kind of see where things kind of go. We'll talk kind of more NFL and all that rumor fun stuff in our next show. But let's know, James, we didn't talk baseball last show, didn't we?
No way. I don't think we've talked baseball in years. It feels like years.
All right. Well, let's talk some baseball, James, shall we? Now, obviously, James, of course, spring training is in full swing, even though that really the games do not count whatsoever. But it's still kind of nice to watch some baseball back on my screen specifically. I will say, though, that it does kind of suck not having a lot of your team's games televised. Like, in terms of spring training, I know there's been so many, like, Twitter, teams essentially kind of maybe streaming some highlights here and there. Like, for instance, today, the Red Sox had a game against the Tigers. And obviously, it was one of my days off from work. Of course, my birthday's this weekend, so I'm kind of giving myself a little time off from work, which is kind of nice.
You deserve it.
Thank you. But Rafael Devers today hit a home run, and it's just like, yeah, I don't care specifically in terms of his spring training stats. It was like, that's your best player. It's like that should be televised. It's just like it. I just wish they would have that something that's televised. Of course, spring training. I listened to the radio today, some of the game, but yeah, in terms of what your overall quick early thoughts, I guess, spring training before we get to the latest on the Boris stuff.
Well, you mentioned about the television stuff. So San Diego doesn't have a television home for the Padres right now. It's all, you could buy it streaming from MLB TV.TV. So I haven't been able to watch any of their games here locally. And then when MLB has it, they black it out and they show some other programming. So that's what I found out a couple of days ago because they were playing, I don't even know who, but I did see the first two games because they were on ESPN against the Dodgers.
Yep.
I know next week, I think they will eventually have the Red Sox on ESPN next week or the week after.
Yeah, they usually do. Yep.
What I liked about the Angels, it's still, FRD, but the fan support is still there. It's amazing to see this weekend, even where I live in North San Diego, I've seen so many people wearing the Angels stuff. It's like the optimism of spring training, but knowing like, hey, the same crap is going to happen, right? And now it's worse without Shohei. That's why we actually go against each other for the Angels home opener. I probably won't go though.
Oh wow! That would draw.
I'm wondering if
lot, though. Yeah.
I'm wondering, or it might be Red Sox, but I was just thinking to myself, man, it's a matchup of the two teams that really underperformed in the offseason.
Oh, yes. And we'll talk about our team reports a little bit.
Yeah. So for spring, though, is like, hey, kind of looking at some young players and how they fare in the later innings. I'll give you one instance. Have you ever seen a manager have a mound visit for a minor league pitcher in a spring training game? Have you ever seen that where they keep him in the game and have a pet talk to him, or they take him out usually, right? Have you ever seen that where they just have a motivational mound visit?
Motivational, no. I mean, maybe I've seen in an instance here and there of pulling a guy, but I mean, rarely. I mean, if it's spring training specifically, most of the time they have like their own inning, and that's pretty much it. They obviously don't want to overwork guys, unless you're a starter that's essentially going to be there for the season. You kind of want to, bulk up your, stamina throughout the spring training to get yourself prepared for. That's essentially what the Red Sox are doing. They're essentially trying to get some of their guys, specifically the rotation, to keep on start by start to get more and more accustomed for the start of the season. But for guys, for minor league guys, it's like, an inning and then you're out. That's pretty much it. So
I mentioned that because Ron Washington in the first spring training game, he went out to talk to one of these pitchers that has potential. Remember, the Angels picked 20 pitchers in that 21 draft, and a few have come up already. Yeah, 20. Okay. And this guy, Nick Jones, he's got high heat, but he's sometimes off on the location. Or Juan Washington went out there to go talk to him like it was a regular season game. And he literally got out of a jam. And I was just thinking to myself, Wash did that in the spring training game. Like, imagine what he'll do in the regular season game.
That's good
for these young kids. Yeah. It was just weird to see that in the spring game. So that was my observation already. It was like, I like this. I really like this.
Yeah, no, like, people obviously don't want to, make spring training a lot, in terms of results. But for some of these guys that essentially that are trying to make, whether the roster or just kind of make an impression, that's a great type of thing for a guy like Washington, who's another type of manager, to kind of just show that for younger guys. I really like that, James. I really do.
Yeah.
Alex Cora, obviously kind of bouncing on my end. Alex Cora, the last couple of seasons, I don't know, of course, with the Red Sox, and you mentioned the Red Sox and our shows in the last couple of years, our defense has been horrible. I mean, of course, 2 years ago, the Jaron Duran not going for that inside the park home run against the Blue Jays. Last year, I thought our defense was a little bit better, but it wasn't like, I still thought that it could have been a lot better. We brought in Tyler O'Neill. He's a Gold Glove guy. He could play it in the left field. Masako Yoshida is probably not going to be playing a lot more outfield than normal, which is good. Durant, I thought last year played much better throughout the season. So I do think that he's probably going to be back in center field unless we go for Adam Duvall, who's still out there on the market. I thought that last year his OPS, I believe in April, was high nines, which is really good. But before he got hurt, that fluke dive against the Tigers, but we got to see specifically about how Alex Cora kind of manages a lot of these guys early on in the season. Because I think our defense specifically, if our defense plays well, I mean, he was saying today or yesterday that our team's a lot more athletic. I definitely agree with that because it's a lot younger. So it just speaks volumes. When you have essentially managers that have been there, done that can kind of get into these young guys, it just helps so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's get into the overall latest rumblings on the Boras stuff because, believe it or not, James, our Angels, your Angels, I would say, your Angels, and my Red Sox, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. It is now March 1st, and they have not been signed. Incredible. I mean, you can't really put into words specifically in terms of that. I don't even specifically know in terms of really the full-on date of the offseason, kind of like when it fully started. But if you essentially, I get obviously waiting it out. I understand specifically, guys essentially want their own deals, their contracts and stuff like that. But Scott Boras essentially is, when it comes to negotiations, you're not going to win the battle. It's just not going to happen. And I essentially kind of come to the conclusion in terms of like a guy like Jordan Montgomery, be perfect for a rotation, right? And we'll talk about the guys in terms of rumblings and stuff like that. But it took Cody Bellinger, aka probably one of the best players of the Cubs last year, to get signed like last week. And it's just like Matt Chapman. Let's see, he's still out there. JD Martinez, he's still out there. I would not be shocked, guys, if there's some guys still out there a week before opening day. That's essentially was the guy like Scott Boras.
Yeah.
They're just going to play hardball with these guys constantly. So, Isaiah, welcome back here on the program. Me and James kind of started off with a little bit of the spring training stuff. We'll get into our team reports in a little bit. But it's actually perfect that we got to you, my friend, because you had this full-on rant about how the Texas Rangers, your now team, has not been spending lately.
Oh, God.
I'll retract
TV money.
In terms of Jordan Montgomery, Isaiah, and the Texas Rangers. Because we'll start in terms of the Boras clients, kind of the top two, and I'll kind of work our way down. The latest about Jordan Montgomery right now is Chris Young, of course, is kind of saying that they're probably not going to spend anything else personally. The Angels, I think specifically, from what it sounds like, I don't know if Jordan Montgomery wants to go a full long-term contract or he's going to want to go short-term with opt-outs. That's just kind of essentially kind of what I'm getting to. So, and the Red Sox specifically have not shown to me that they want to spend at all this offseason.
Yep.
It's almost like I can't rule out the Rangers. I really just can't, because I know that obviously Jordan Montgomery's wife is residency in Boston this whole entire offseason. He's been training at Boston College. You just feel like it's a perfect thing, perfect situation. But if he wants to win, and it's obviously not us as much as on my team, we're not essentially in a position right now to win. The Angels, James, obviously, are you guys are now in a position to win? So it's just like, all right, now you have Texas, and I would not rule out the Phillies. I would just wouldn't rule out the Phillies, because the Phillies right now, think about it, guys. Zach Wheeler is a free agent after the season. If they don't want to pay Zach Wheeler, does Jordan Montgomery want to be like a number 2 behind Aaron Nola? I think he'd sign up for that. I think he would. So we're going to have to see specifically. Now, I will ask you guys this. Do you guys personally feel like Jordan Montgomery, and we'll talk about Blake Snell after this, do you guys feel like Jordan Montgomery is going to have a new team by next week?
Oh, that's tough.
Because now it is March. I'm asking you guys this because now it is March 1st. There has to be some type of ramp up for these guys to
Yeah.
pitch live games. And I get like obviously, you could pitch like, off the mound, somewhere else against like live BP here and there. But it's like if you're a new team, you got to specifically kind of know like your rotation, how it maps up with other
Yeah.
now we're like only 3-4 weeks before opening day. And if you're a team specifically like Boston, if you're a team like, Texas, it's like you essentially have a guy like Jordan Montgomery who may not be a full on ace, specifically in terms of what his contract's gonna be, but he can eat innings. And that's essentially in
Yeah.
terms of like what a lot of these type of teams need. So I will ask you, Isaiah, because obviously, because yourself being a now temporary Rangers fan, as essentially I will say that. What's your confidence about Texas bringing back Jordan Montgomery? Of course, a guy that was a pivotal part in the World Series last year.
I would probably say like, to be honest, 10%, just because of the fact that the Rangers ownership group, I've been completely disgusted with them. Like they haven't shown that they want to spend. I mean, they look like they won their first World Series title in franchise history, waited 50 to 60 plus years to do so, endured so much heartbreak to get there, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're good. We'll just take our trophy and relax on a beach somewhere in Cabo, and we're good. Who cares? We'll wait another 50 plus years to win another championship. It's like they got the attitude like Cleveland did with the Cavaliers, where it's like, we're good. Just winning one. We snapped the 50-year drought. We're good. Like we don't care anymore. Because we got our trophy. But that's kind of what disgusts me. It's like if you look at the American League right now, all these teams that are potential challengers to the Texas Rangers, they are either flawed or they're breaking in a lot of new players, and that takes a lot of time to get into. So, I just the reason like that's the reason why I just don't understand what Texas is doing. Like you have a chance right now, especially with your top contender, the Houston Astros, kind of being on the downturn of things. You have a chance to have a Patrick Mahomes Kansas City like run in the American League, and because you have a young core, all these guys are locked up long term. You have a lot of young players that were pivotal contributors last year. They still, they are in their like either in their prime or they are just beginning their prime. I mean, the Rangers have a chance for a dynasty like run, and instead they're just not willing to shell out the money. And I know it probably has something to do with the TV stuff, but like, you know, I understand it, but look at the Rangers rotation right now, Ben and James. I don't like if Scherzer and DeGrom, they're probably going to be back like June, July, maybe even August. You look at his rotation right now. Their best acquisition this offseason was David Robertson, who is going to show up the bullpen, but he doesn't
It'll
really.
be good. Mm-hmm.
He'll be good, yeah. But
Mhm.
you lost Aroldis Chapman, so he's kind of like a guy that is gonna. It's a substitute for that. And then you look at the rotation. Your best rotation addition was Tyler Malley, and Tyler Malley is going to be out for the first 3 months of the season because he had Tommy John surgery last year. So, like, you look at the Rangers rotation right now. The Rangers rotation is a bottom 5 rotation in all of baseball. I mean, you have a guy like they have Nathan Eovaldi. They have
He pitched well today, by the way.
yes, Nathan
I'm happy for Nate.
Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, Dane Dunning,
John Gray.
John Gray. Yeah, like that's not even that's not really that good a rotation. Like all these guys should be at least a slot down than what they are right now in the rotation, and that's why like you need to definitely add another piece to the Texas Rangers rotation, because if you don't, then I think that the Rangers are going to be in big trouble, especially with Scherzer, with DeGrom, and with these other guys not being back until June, July, or August. So like they have to sign him. They definitely need to. They definitely need to shell out money in order to get Jordan Montgomery. As I think the Lakers just blew it, but the Rangers.
Oh, good.
I don't know how they can go into the season to defend their crown with this just bottom 5 rotation in baseball.
Now, James, in terms of your Angels, of course, we shifted kind of with your Rangers, Isaiah. The thing about the Angels right now, James, is as of course, it looked like we lost Isaiah. Looks like that Blake Snell might be looking to potentially be open to shorting a short-term type of contract. Now, if you're the Angels, and I know that obviously you're laughing about it, but it's true. Apparently, John Heyman reported a couple days ago that he might be open to it, and it just maybe it's more of this like, finally, I need to get a team going or something like that. But if you had to pick between either one, if you're going to choose one, because while this is specifically you get one, would you rather lean Snell or would you rather lean Montgomery? James, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I would rather have Montgomery for the Angels just because he has a playoff experience. Like you mentioned, an innings leader. I would love that. And then the fact that I think he'd be more of a gamer than Blake Snell, because gamer is different with Blake Snell. He's a video gamer. You know, it's way different.
Like Kyler.
Yeah, that's why I don't like either of those guys, because they play video games, I think, more than mastering their craft. That is their career. And I heard some rumblings, about how the Yankees feel like he wouldn't be good there in New York. Snell wouldn't be.
They can't pay him though. So the thing about Snell
Good.
is there's a QO attached. So a lot of team specific, especially with the Yankees where they got Soto and a lot of other guys, the Yankees are essentially kind of past the luxury tax. They essentially they just can't go out and sign long-term contracts. I think specifically Snell right now personally is going to ask a lot because reportedly he's kind of in that 6 to 8 year type of range early on. But if he kind of slims down to a short term, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 2-3 year with opt-outs multiply included. I would not be shocked. Montgomery for sure I think is going to get opt-outs. But definitely about Snell. Now, I just asked James who he feels about the Angels if they got Snell and Montgomery. Isaiah.
Neither.
in terms of Texas or Philadelphia, Isaiah, about Snell or Monty, what do you think about the Phillies with Montgomery and Snell?
Isaiah, what was the question? What was the question, Ben? I was my volume was on really low. Sorry about that.
All good. Now I asked James before he came back on in terms of his Angels if he would look in terms of trying to get Monty or Snell, and he said he'd prefer Montgomery. Because there's reportedly new rumors that Snell might be taking a short-term type of deal compared to what he was originally asking, which is a longer-term type deal. So if you're the Phillies, do you specifically kind of keep the rotation as it is, or do you feel like you're on risk potentially losing Wheeler the following offseason because of his a free agent and potentially bringing a guy like Snell or Monty to kind of fill in that gap in case a guy like Wheeler left?
I would honestly bring in one of those two guys because a lot of these teams are not spending because they're impacted by the TV deal or the lack of TV deal. So you have an opportunity to strike right now, and you have an opportunity to go get one of these guys and just significantly improve your ball club. That's why, like, if I'm the Angels, forget getting one. I'm getting all three of these guys with Montgomery, with Snell. Heck, I would even sign Matt Chapman to a large 5-year deal because you look at Texas, right? Texas is not spending. Their rotation is not good.
Angels aren't spending.
Mike Trout apparently wants them to spend, but it's all about Artie Moreno. So,
yeah. And Artie already came out and said he's not spending anything else or anything more. He lied to everybody. He said, oh, yeah, we're going to use that money we offered Ohtani. We're going to use that toward the team. And then he backtracked that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's foolish because the Angels, believe it or not, James, as much as you want to go all gloom and doom on the Angels actually have a golden opportunity right now to significantly shrink the gap with the Rangers and the Astros if they made that like moves right now because Texas is not spending.
No.
The Astros just seem like everybody's
No.
old and everybody's like Verlander's injured.
Dude.
If the Angels,
Isaiah, it's funny enough that a couple weeks ago you were mentioning the A's and the Angels kind of back and forth, and now you're thinking about shrinking them up with the top guys in that division.
well,
kind of
that's,
interesting.
that's if they bring in a Montgomery, if they bring in Snell, if they bring in like both of these guys, they got a shot.
I got one name for the Angels I think would actually benefit well if they didn't get at the batters. JD Martinez. I think that.
Ooh, yes.
But
Martinez,
let me tell you about that, because I heard that in December
mhm.
and nothing was done. And you figured that would have been the perfect time to get that done.
Right.
And it's already getting kind of late. You hope he's been working out. But again, with Artie saying he's not spending any more, I can't believe that they're going to even get JD Martinez. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think specifically he's going to go there, but I wouldn't rule specifically in terms of all the guys that are out there. That's probably the one name that is anything connected. But I will say this about one team, guys, and that's your friend Byron Saridi, Isaiah. I think that the Giants are a team to watch out for to get multiple guys in this class.
Snell.
Because I believe a couple of guys in spring training they're already hurt for the Giants. I think if they got Snell and they got Chapman, those two guys specifically, I want to rule that out by any means. In terms of the Red Sox for Montgomery's pursuit, it's been so back and forth. There's a report out from Peter Gammon saying that there's an NFL exec that thinks that the Red Sox and Monty can find a way to get something done. And then you have like Chris Cotillo and some beat reporters on the other hand. It's just like, yeah, they're still kind of interested, but I was hearing a podcast that I'm really tied into. Shout out to Jared Carabas from DraftKings, of course. He's unfortunately moving on from them, but diehard Red Sox fan. He said essentially, and he said it perfectly, nothing's going to matter until John Henry spends. And that's essentially the deal breaker because people are ripping on Sam Kennedy, and I get it. Sam Kennedy this whole entire offseason has been an absolute clown show. I mean, I get it, but unless it comes from John Henry's pockets, nothing's going to happen. So that's essentially kind of why my optimistic side, of course, is I would love it, but in terms of my heart feel, I don't see it happening with the Red Sox and Jordan Montgomery. So now with that being said, guys, there is one guy that is currently off the market for Scott Boras, and that is Cody Bellinger. He has officially signed a 3-year, I think it's 3-year, right, guys?
With 3-year opt out every year, I think, the first 2 years.
And I think the money value is $80 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe I talked off the air with Isaiah about Bellinger in terms of where I felt he was going to go. And I said the Cubs because I think personally that's kind of where his heart was. He was saying at the press conference that essentially he felt pretty valued there, his family and stuff like that.
Right.
So the reason why I want to obviously kind of talk about it is one, what's you guys over our reaction on this, and two, how do you guys feel this overall potentially reshapes the market for guys like JD Martinez, Chapman, and all the other two pitchers? So I will start with you first, James. How do you feel like this Cody Bellinger contract went down with the Cubs? Do you like it? And those just obviously, how do you feel like this Cubs offseason's done after getting this?
Yeah, I think he'll opt out after the second year because I was looking and seeing how this goes. He's paid $30 million the first two, and then it would be $20 in 2026, the last year of the deal. And I just don't believe he'll stick around for that. The Cubs would either have to pay him more on another deal like this. I think he waited long enough. I've been watching some of the Cub games this year, and it feels like they never had enough offense. And with Bellinger, it gives them a puncher's chance. So it was a good move just because he was familiar with the team already. I think Counsell's trying to find an identity and attitude for these Cubs because he made a big move to go down the I-90 or whatever it is to go to Chicago from Milwaukee. What I wasn't surprised to hear was the praise he gave Bellinger did about the Cubs organization, how the family liked it, like being there last year. So I think literally it was the Cubs waiting until they couldn't wait anymore with the Boras client. That's what I felt like when I read that news yesterday or whenever day it was.
Yeah, it's pretty sure it's a couple days ago. This was really recent. In terms of Isaiah, as you said something currently off the air, we'll talk about basketball in a bit. Cody Bellinger, Isaiah, your overall reaction?
I think this is a big fat L for Scott Boras and his agency. Because early in the offseason, a lot of people were projecting that Cody Bellinger would get like a 7-year, $160 million deal or whatever it was. But for him to settle at 3 years, 80 with an opt out after year one, I just think that it's a massive L, and it shows that Scott Boras, fellas, he's been tormenting a lot of teams for a long, long time. He has lost his fastball, believe it or not. Like that guy
I
is
agree.
not getting a lot of massive deals anymore. He's waiting and waiting and waiting for a very long time, and that's in some cases or a lot of cases it's bad for. We talk about like guys like Snell, Montgomery, and Chapman still waiting. Like that's bad because you need time to ramp up, like you mentioned, Ben. And a lot of these hitters, they're not in routine. A lot of these guys like they wait until later in the off season or later into spring training to sign. For hitters, it's bad because you don't get the time to go join your new team, familiarize yourself, and then you don't get into your rhythm, you don't get into your routine, you're not ramped up, and you're entering the season basically on a shorter spring training than a lot of folks, and then you end up struggling, and then you end up continuing to struggle because you're trying to fix your struggles, and then you just lose your confidence. I mean, it's just a bad cycle for a lot of these guys. So that's why, like, I think a guy like a Matt Chapman, sadly, might not have a good year this year because he's waiting too long into the off season to sign. But I think this is a big L for Scott Boras. For him not to get even a 5-year contract, it's very disappointing for Cody Bellinger, especially the season that he put on last year. And for him not to even receive a 5-year deal, it's definitely disappointing for sure. LeBron, damn it, bro, you're not Kwame Brown. Oh, shit. But yeah, I mean it's disappointing for sure, dude. Air ball layup, good lord. But yeah, it's definitely disappointing.
All right, now really quickly, guys, before we get into our predictions, which would be a lot of fun. Boris client update. Who is going to be next to go? In terms of the core, for me, I'm going to go Blake Snell. I think that he's the guy specifically that is kind of holding this all up. When he goes, Monty's going to go. I'll ask James first.
I'm gonna flip that. I think when Montgomery goes, Snell will go. And then I want to mention this real quick. It's worse on the pitchers, but it's such a long season that they don't mind missing part of it because also they don't work as many innings during the year now as much as they used to. So I don't think they mind missing this time, honestly, if they could work out on their own.
So you have Monty, right, James?
Yeah.
Okay. Isaiah, who do you have going off first in terms of the rest between Snow, Monty, Chapman, and Martinez?
I'm gonna go with Matt Chapman. The fit between him and the Giants just seemed like a natural fit, and they've been in talks for like basically the last 3 months. So a deal has to get done at this point for the Giants and Chapman.
Yeah, but it's just like, what's the holdup then? Because you kind of felt then at this point in time something was going on. No, I do agree. I think that if it's not the Giants, though, Isaiah, watch out for the Cubs. That's kind of the other team right now. The Cubs have been kind of sneaky this offseason. And I wouldn't rule out them being done, especially even after getting Bellinger. So we'll have to see. All right, let's talk some season predictions, guys. We're gonna have some fun with this specifically. I don't know if you guys have everything kind of ready to go, but we're gonna kind of do it like we did for NFL. We're gonna go through divisions. Obviously, in terms of wild cards and stuff like that, we can kind of maybe wait it out potentially for next show. But at least the divisions, and we're gonna do our AL NL MVPs, our rookies of the years, and Cy Youngs. So, well, currently Isaiah, once again. That's fine. James, we will quickly start with the divisions. And we'll go to we'll start with the AL. We'll start with the American League East. Who do you have specifically, James, coming out of the AL East?
AL East, I'm gonna go with Baltimore. I think they continue to
Okay.
do what they've done. Just something about the Yankees. It feels like they don't have enough pitching depth, starting wise. Blue Jays, there's always something they're behind with. So I'm gonna go with Baltimore.
I'm gonna go Baltimore too. I really like in terms of how they were last year. I think they bounced it up. I think that they'll probably be in the mid 90s, if I had to predict. I think the Yankees are probably going to be in the high 80s. The Yankees have so many injury problems year after year, and especially
Yeah.
with that pitching staff. You don't know about Rodon if he could bounce back in terms of Nestor. Clark Schmidt's obviously okay. Stroman, maybe he can be okay in that fit there. You just don't know. Really, the kind of the only guys that's pretty much set is Cole. Everything else is kind of question marks. The Orioles they have Corbin Burns still now there, which is great. They kind of have questions overall with their pitching, but I don't know. I feel like the Orioles, to me, just have a little bit more specifically balanced wise. The Yankees specifically have Stanton. You're kind of bouncing back over for him. Judge obviously is going to do his thing. Soto, of course, is going to do his thing. But outside of that, it's like, all right, Volpe, maybe. Verdugo obviously came in. He's very up and down. Of course, we saw with the Red Sox. So I think the Orioles just have a really great thing going for them. Of course, Jackson Holiday, his first year coming up with them. They have Gunnar Henderson, Bradish obviously in that rotation along with Burns and Grayson Rodriguez. I'm going to go with the Orioles as my number one. My number two in that division would probably be the Yankees. My number three, I'm going to probably go with Toronto. And we don't have to go through the whole entire list in our terms of our picks. We can if we want to. I'm just kind of thinking in terms of my head right now. I'm going to go with the Orioles number one, the Yankees two. I feel like the Rays feel like a dip off a little bit this year. I think it'd be
I do too.
because they lost McClanahan for the year because of Tommy John. They lost Glass now to the Dodgers. And I know the Rays have kind of figured things out. Obviously, they wanted their Broncos stuff this offseason. I think the Rays take a regression out of any team in this offseason. So I would say the Rays kind of in the low 80s. I think the Blue Jays are probably like the low to mid 80s. And then the Red Sox are going to be in last place once again. They'll be probably like the mid to high 70s if everything goes well. So, James, you got the Orioles in the lead in the AL East. I have the Orioles in the AL East. Now let's go to Isaiah. Who do you got in the AL East?
All right, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me, right? Because my audio has been like kind of
Perfectly.
in and out the last. Okay.
No, you're doing you're great. Yeah, you're fine.
You guys got me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So for me, the AL East, I think I'm gonna go, and Ben, you probably will hate me for this pick, but I'm gonna go with the Yankees. Juan Soto added him to the lineup. It's huge for them and adds another star opposite of Aaron Judge. And then you look at that lineup now; they have a lot more balance. I don't know why the New York Yankees, they know their porch in right field. It's a perfect bandbox for left-handed hitters. Why did they have so many right-handed hitters last year? It made no sense whatsoever. What Brian Cashman was doing. I mean, you could tell a little 10-year-old the story of Yankee Stadium, and everybody would know. You put a bunch of lefties because it's a very hitters-friendly ballpark for lefties. So I think that it's going to be the Yankees. Garrett Cole is there. I think he just won the Cy Young, had a great season. Nestor Cortez, I think, will bounce back, have a better year. And this might be a hot take, but I think the Yankees will get one more of the Montgomery, Snell, and Chapman trio that are out there right now. Especially, I think they get Blake Snell. The Blake Snell stuff is just so it's very feverful right now. There's a lot of momentum towards that, and he's perfect for the Yankees because you don't know what's going to happen with Rodon. You don't know what's going to happen with some of the other guys in that rotation. and besides Garrett Cole, so you need to add another ace into that rotation that is not a question mark to go along with your offense. But having said that, I'm going to go with the Yankees just because you look at the other teams. The Rays, like you mentioned, Ben, I think they take a step back. They've had so many injuries. A lot of young pitchers are stepping up, and these young guys take a lot of time to get used to the league. The Red Sox, sadly, aren't spending. I don't really know what to make of them. They have a lot of young talent there, but they'll take some time. Toronto, I'm assuming that they're going to lose Chapman. Vladdy Jr. is there. Bo Bichette is there. But with the Yankees, Soto, with Judge, I mean, they have a great offensive talent now. The Orioles, James, I like that pick. The only reason why I can't do it is because Kyle Bradish is going to miss the first half of the season, if not the entire year, due to a sprained elbow, and he might have to undergo Tommy John. And that's a big blow for them. And
That
I
would
think,
be big.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I said that would be big.
Yeah, and I also heard, I think it was a couple of days ago, that Rodriguez, the young kid, he's gonna also maybe miss some time to start the year due to a strained oblique. So potentially the top two arms in the Orioles rotation from last year, they are gonna be out for the start of the season, and that's a huge blow because if New York gets off to a good start, then I don't know if the Orioles can catch up with them.
All right, so we got the AL East. Let's go to the AL Central. Now, the Royals, I felt like had a decent sneaky offseason in terms of their pitching. I still think they're a little bit of ways. But the AL Central, James, it's just one of those divisions. It's like some
It's
team has to
anybody's.
win. It's not great.
Yeah.
The Guardians, I don't really know what to think about them. I know that they still held on to Bieber. There's reports of potentially of moving on from Klase. But
Wow.
I mean, I guess the Twins, but it's like the Twins obviously won it last year. Yeah, they won the wild card. Whoopee. Congrats to the Twin fans out there. It's just one of those divisions just does not do it for me whatsoever. But somebody has to win it. So for me, and I think that the Tigers, obviously, they're rebuilding. They obviously are held on around by Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. I'd probably go with the Twins again. I think that the Twins still, to me, kind of feel still like the team. They have some pieces still there. I know that they moved on from Sonny Gray, which is a big loss for them. The Guardians, they moved on from Terry Francona, guys. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a new manager that I think speaks a lot of volumes there. And then the Tigers, they moved on, obviously Miggy, of course, they're a building type team. I think they're gonna be like second to last. I don't think they'll be awful. They're probably like the low 70s. Then the Royals, I just think that they're still a couple years away, but I think that they're gonna, you know what? I'll take that back. I think the Royals are gonna take a step up. The Tigers are gonna take a step back. I have the Tigers in last place. I think the Royals are gonna be in fourth. They're gonna be the second last. And so for me, I'm going to go with the Twins, number one. The Guardians, number two. I think the Guardians are probably like the low 80s. I'd say like the Twins in the high 80s. I'll probably get it done in the Central. And then the Royals, I'd probably go like potentially low 70s. I really could see it happening with that team.
Yeah.
They got some pieces there. I'm not saying they're probably going to be like a 70, like 92 type of team. Like I think that they're going to make some strides this year. But I think that they have something cooking for sure over there. And then the Tigers, I think, will take a step back that we're building. So, James, AL Central, somebody has to win it.
I like that. Oh, man. I know it won't be the White Sox.
Oh, the White Sox. That's right.
Yeah.
Damn.
But it's good you don't mention it because they're so dysfunctional on and off the field. They have players that should be somewhere else, and they would do a lot better. So definitely,
like second to last. They'll still not be good.
I'm gonna have them in last.
Okay.
I gotta agree with you with the Twins, and then the Guardians. Yeah. I gotta go second. But man, I hope Detroit and Kansas City both make a run for a wild card or at least second, try to get third place there.
Yeah.
Man, because I loved what Kansas City did in the offseason. They went out and got 2 Padre starters, Walker and Lugo. They got some other relievers. They locked up Wood Jr. for a little bit.
Yep.
So, Twins, Cleveland. I'm going to go Kansas City over Detroit and then Chicago in last.
Yeah, a lot of people in the predictions are saying that Royals could be like the third place team, which I think would be good for them. All right, Isaiah, I want to hear this from you. Didn't you, by the way, in our predictions last year have the Tigers win in that division?
Royals.
Or was there
Actually that was the year before. I had the Tigers winning it the year before, and then I picked the Kansas City Royals to win it last year to no avail. Don't worry, I'm not
from the
picking
bottom. Now we're here, I guess. That's how you thinking?
I'm not picking the White Sox this time, so you can rule them out because, like James mentioned, they're dysfunctional. There's too much chaos there. Pedro Grifol, I think, is going to be the first manager fired actually this year. I want to give a shout out to our guy Loro because I saw his predictions for the season. He put it on his Facebook timeline, and he has the Detroit Tigers actually winning the AL Central. You know what? For me, I'm going to go with a repeat of my prediction last year. Give me the Kansas City Royals. I'm going to go with them. I like them this year.
That's really bold.
They have a lot of young talent. And, you talk about this division, right? The Twins don't really scare anyone. The Guardians have a new manager. They really took a step back last year. I don't know about their pitching. Bieber might be gone at the trade deadline. Who knows? The Royals, I like what they did. They got Waka. They got Lugo. They got a lot of the veterans to go with the very young rotation who has a lot of high upside. The bullpen, Will Smith is going to be – I think Will Smith and Chris Stratton are going to battle it out to be the closer. I mean, Chris Stratton's a solid reliever.
Of Will Smith, Isaiah, before we keep going, do you know the backstory about Will Smith?
What's that?
Do you know the backstory about Will Smith, the reliever on that team?
What's up?
So I think, James, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it?
He's been on the last 3 world champions.
That's right.
So, never know.
Yeah. That's right. You never know. I mean,
it could happen a lot for that team. That's still young, but I just thought it was funny.
No, it is. But the bullpen I think is going to be a lot better because they have a lot of they have guys that are veterans and some guys with high upside.
Guy John Schreiber.
Yeah, and then you look at that lineup, right? I think Bobby Witt Jr., fellas, is going to have an MVP type season. I think he's due. I mean, he had an amazing year last year, and a lot of people didn't take notice until they signed him to that massive extension. So I think he's going to take a step up. And then this is a guy that was a catalyst for them when they were going on a mini run to start the year last year, but before he got hurt, and that is Vinny Pasquantino.
Nice.
This guy is a good player. He's a really good hitter. They lost his bat in the lineup when he got hurt last year to really, really hurt them. But he's back. He's going to be healthy this year. I think with the improved pitching, I think with the new ideas that Matt Quattaro, their manager, brings to the helm, and also with that lineup, the young hitters taking a step up, I got the Royals. I don't really buy into the Twins or the Guardians. They don't really fear me. So I'll go with the Royals, but I do agree with you guys. I think it's anybody's division to win for sure.
I mean, Isaiah, I love your boldness take, especially, taking another year. But I do hope the Royals have a good year this year. And like I said, the AL Central, let's be real, nobody's winning in this overall division a World Series by any means. It's pretty much whoever wins that wins it.
Yep.
Heck, the Red Sox, if they were in the AL Central last year, folks, they would have been in the playoffs. So, that pretty much tells you in terms of it. And the Red Sox obviously had an abysmal season last year. All right, let's go to the AL West. This should be really fascinating. Now, obviously, to me, of course, Texas, you would think, of course, being as the World Series champs last year, that they would be the division winner. Now, a lot kind of hinders on the Montgomery stuff, I'd say. If he went back to Texas, I would think that Texas would be the number one. But I'm going to go with my gut. I don't think that he's going to go back to Texas. So for me, I got Houston. I think that Houston takes the crown from Texas last year. I think Texas will still be good, but I think that Texas will take a step back because a lot of times when you win a World Series, you have that little bit of that hangover. It just kind of happens for a lot of these teams. So I think Houston, they take a step up. I think Texas takes a little step back. I think Houston will probably win around mid 90s. Texas will probably win like about high 80s, low 90s. And then I think the number 3, man, I mean, the Angels to me, like you mentioned, James.
No, don't do it.
I don't know if I'll fall for this at all. Mariners, yeah, Mariners
Yeah.
gonna be my number 3 pick. Yeah, I was about to say there's one more team in that division I was missing. Yeah, the Mariners. Yeah, the Mariners. I think listen, guys. The Mariners has been the last 2 years right in that playoff mix. I believe they just missed the last year, if I'm not mistaken. I could really send them back to making it again. They got a great fun core there. I love J-Rod. Obviously Kirby. They got Brian Wu. Obviously Bryce Miller. They got a really good young core in that pitching staff. The only guy I believe that they lost was Marco Gonzalez, and he was kind of getting a little older. He kind of had his spurts here and there. But of course, between J-Rod, Ty France, Kyle Raleigh, they have a great core there. And they also brought Mitch Haniger back. And I think that really he's a really good piece for them as well. So I think they're going to be number 3 as the Mariners. And then I'll say the Angels. And then James, Isaiah, your A's. So I remember we talked about the A's in terms of the wins, in terms of how much they were going to have. And I don't remember specifically how much it was. But do you feel like the over-under on the A's this year will be worse than last year? But I know for a fact they'll be in last. But let's be real. I think that, we'll see. But they'll be in last. I'm sorry. My team will be in last too. But, I'm pulling for the A's. I really just hope specifically that they can keep that team in Oakland. That's pretty much the whole story about them right now. It's more pretty much that than anything at this point in time. But you talked about with them, they have Lawrence Butler, they got Zach Gallup, they got some young pieces around there. I mean, they specifically, I think, in a couple years, call me crazy, I'm not saying being a playoff team, but they can kind of have that Royals feel. They can maybe get some guys in a couple years. Like, I know that they got Alex Wood, they got Ross Stripling, so it's not like they got like awful guys. It's just not a team that's ready to contend whatsoever in the next couple of years. It's just not. So that's what they have. That's what I have at last. So obviously, I can go to either of you guys because both your guys' team is in this division. So, man.
It's a battle of last place, basically, between James and I.
I was going to say rock, paper, scissors, shoot it, but, I'll start with you, Isaiah. Your AL West division winner.
Ooh, it obviously is going to come down to the two teams that met in the ALCS, and those two teams, the Rangers and Astros, guys, call me crazy, but this budding rivalry is going to spill out into a huge rivalry that's going to last years. And it's going to be an iconic, legendary rivalry like the Yankees and Astros or the Red Sox and Yankees. Like, I think it's going to be up that level. Like, I think we already saw the first act of this rivalry, like with the Rangers and the Astros. It was crazy. I mean, there was brawl. When have you ever seen a brawl in the conference, the championship series? Like, you've never seen a brawl break out between these two teams. Like, these two teams have legit hate for each other. Like, they hate each other. There's no like good blood between each other. Like, there's no friendliness between each other. So I think it's going to come down to these two teams, the Rangers and the Astros. The Astros obviously got better with Josh Hader, but I worry about the rotation. Verlander might miss the start of the season because of injury. And then you look at the other guys. Like Lance McCullers is coming back from injury. Christian Javier he got lit up in the postseason. I don't believe, and I don't know if James feels this way, but I don't believe in Jose Urquidy. I think he's like a mid pitcher. I don't think he's really that good. And then you look at the other guys in the rotation. Like, there's a lot of guys that are just question marks, to be honest. Luis Garcia is coming back from injury as well. Hunter Brown could throw like 100, but he doesn't have any command whatsoever. So he's also a big question mark. And then the lineup's going to be good with Bregman, with Altuve, Alvarez, I want to see what they're going to do in left field with Michael Brantley's retirement. They haven't really done a lot to address that. But the bullpen, I mean, Ryan Presley, Josh Hader at the back end of the bullpen is going to be absolutely filthy. But the thing with the Astros is, can they get to the back end of the bullpen? Because that rotation, outside of Verlander, I don't trust them at all in that rotation. So it's going to be fascinating to see. But you look at the Rangers, it's the same thing. Great lineup with Seager, with Simeon, with Adolis Garcia, with all those bats, Evan Carter as well, who I think is going to win Rookie of the Year, by the way. I think Evan Carter is that good. And then Marcus Simeon as well. They have a really good lineup. Nathaniel Lowe, too. But the Rangers' problem is the problem like the Astros, the rotation. Max Scherzer is going to be out until June. Jacob deGrom is going to be out until August. And even when he does come back, do you put him in the rotation or do you put him in the bullpen? Like, that's going to be a big question to answer. And then you have Tyler Mahle, who's also out until like June as well. So the first half of the season, I think the Rangers, Ben and James, is going to struggle. But it really depends. How will the rotation hold up in the first half of the year? If they can hold up great, then I think the Rangers are winning the division and probably getting further into the playoffs. But if they can't hold up, then the Rangers are going to dig themselves a huge hole that they can't get out of. So, having said that, I'm going to go with the Rangers. I just think that it's going to be a really close battle up until the end, just like last year, but it's going to come down to the final week. And give me Texas to win that division over the Astros. But those Rangers-Astros games, guys, are going to be absolutely bonkers. Like, I'm thinking about taking a flight to Dallas and going to the first Rangers-Astros game. And experiencing that environment, because I think the Rangers, Ben and James, are actually giving out the World Series rings when the Astros are in town. So they talk about how petty that is.
That's so petty. I like it though.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll break out your Scherzer jersey, Isaiah, if you want for that. But
definitely. Definitely I'll do
Pick
that.
a team, Isaiah.
That just tells you how much hate that these two teams have for each other. Like, when you're doing petty stuff like that, it just shows you how much they hate each other. But in terms of the other teams in the division, I actually am going to go with a shocking pick, guys. I think the A's actually finished third, believe it or not, because Seattle, you can always bank on them every year to do something stupid when they're contending. 2 years ago, it was trading Kendall Graveman within the division to the Astros. Like, that made no sense whatsoever. And then I think last year they did something. They traded Paul Sewald at the deadline.
They were interested in trade offers, I think, for Ty France at the deadline. I'm like, what are you thinking? Like,
they traded Suarez too to Arizona this offseason.
Yeah. They lost pieces. I'm not going to say or not deny it, but
they do. And like, the thing with the Mariners is, like, every time they're in contention, you just could count on Jerry DiPoto to do something and screw it up. So I just cannot bank on any Jerry DiPoto team. The A's have some really good young pieces, like you mentioned, Ben. I think Zach Geloff is a stud. That guy's our franchise player. Other guys, Shea Langoliers had 22 homers last year. He's definitely a really good offensive catcher. And then, you know what? Even though I ripped him so hard last year and I was going off at him at times, I think Nick Allen's going to actually take a step up, James and Ben. I mean, the guy is
asking a lot.
He's hitting 500 in spring training right now. And I know it's spring training, but last year he was hitting 186 for a good chunk of the season and had a great August and September. And you guys know Nick Allen finishes the year hitting 220. Like, how? How is that even possible when you were hitting below the Mendoza line for so long? But I think the A's have a lot of good young players on offense. I think they'll take a step up. The rotation, the problem with the rotation last year is they had a lot of young guys, not a lot of veterans. And now you have Stripling and Wood, who you're going to be able to depend a whole lot on them. And then the bullpen, we'll see what happens if they can even get to the bullpen. But I think with that offense, I think they have a shot. I think they do have a shot to maybe to be in that third place conversation just because of how these young guys are going to do offensively.
You're kind of going with them like a Kansas City feel, like essentially kind of that team. Okay. Maybe not like to that trajectory, but kind of just that feel of like a small market team that's going to make a massive step up with some of their moves.
Yeah, exactly. And the A's have had experiences with that before. You guys remember when they had this young core of Chapman and Olsen back in 18, and not a lot of people knew about them. And they were supposed to take a step up, and they did. And they took a massive step up. They were in contention for a wild card spot. They got a lot of veterans. I remember that year our rotation was literally Mike Fiers was our ace. Edwin Jackson was our second starter. Trevor Cahill was our third starter. And then our fourth starter was Brett Anderson, for goodness sakes. Like our rotation was literally being held together by rubber bands. Like that's how bad it was. But somehow we made it to the wild card. I don't know how, but we made it. But I think the A's will this team reminds me like that team back in 2018. So we'll see how they go. And I think it's going to be the Mariners, Angels, and A's. They'll battle it out for that final 3 spots in the American League West. I don't trust Seattle, but I have Seattle at 4 because I think they're more talented than the Angels. And then the Angels, sadly, like they're just stuck in mediocre. Sorry, James. And they feel like a team like that is like that lost its biggest piece. They obviously did with Ohtani, but they need to be ripped apart and rebuild. But they're just so stubborn not to do it. But all these players that they have are just like they're on the downfall of their career, and that's the worst place in sports to be in.
Really quickly before I go to you, James, do you guys see? And I know it's spring training, but for the A's, they have a guy that's a legit clone of Matt Olson. You guys see this? Like legitimately, watch this off the air at some point. But there's a guy that's playing for the A's right now that's in spring training. He has like the same exact like length. He's a lefty batter, has like the same follow through. It's scary. I'm just like, oh, he's probably gonna be a Brave in like 4 to 5 years from now, like if he ever gets a chance to. But Isaiah, I mean, if there's anybody that like if he gets like a Matt Olson type, I mean, just like you mentioned, some of the young guys, it's like maybe get another Matt Olson coming up. It's like maybe you're cooking all here.
And you know what's crazy about that guy that you mentioned, Ben? I did see his swing. It definitely looks exactly like Matt Olson.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no, it does. And what's funny is the guy, I think his name is like Hogue. It's like Hogue, and then his last name is something like Angoliers or whatever. He's got like almost the exact same last name as Shea Langoliers. So it's like you're cloning 2 guys in one, man.
That's so funny. All right, James, who do you got in the AL West here?
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Astros still. I think they just have the talent to do it, and they have enough know-how to do it again. The veterans will come through for them again. Plus, it is I believe the last season for Alex Bregman.
Yeah,
I think he's a free agent after the year.
Although I did hear a couple days ago that their ownership wants to keep him to an extension, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, so I know he's going to ball out, and on those contract years, that's usually a good thing. And he's got to play better defense, though. It's the first time I've seen him ever have, 9+ errors in the season. That was like Rendon-like. And Bregman usually is, really sure at third, but hopefully he'll get better. Second, I have Texas. I just think they have the youth and all that. They have that ready to go. The problem is, will Seager be better once he comes back? And
Isaiah Steph-Curry, by the way.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, Texas
He's a boss.
second.
I like Seager.
The third place, I'm going to have Seattle. I just feel like they have enough young talent despite what they've lost. And how many it's amazing, though. Their GM there, DePoto, he's like pissed off everyone. The locker room, the players, the other coaches, the fans. I just feel like they've lost a lot, not for them to compete for the West. So they're stuck down here with, it's like me and Isaiah, but they'll be the better half of that. For some reason, I'm convinced, because the Angels did not have a off season really, They got some, bullpen pieces, and that was pretty much it. I'm so convinced the A's and the Angels are so close to tying for fourth to finish tied for fourth.
Okay.
I'm so close to that, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Angels just because. Okay, if they get a healthy Trout, yeah, right. And also same thing with Rendon. Okay, maybe they could compete for third place. That's the hope
Uh-huh.
around here, but that's pretty much it. There's like
Mhm.
nothing else. The A's, with all the players that they mentioned, okay, maybe they'll all show up at the same time, and they'll still play well against the Angels, like every year. It doesn't matter who they have; they find ways to beat the Angels. It's weird
Who
like
did we have
that.
a winning record against you guys last year?
Yeah, you did. That's why I
Isn't that
mentioned that.
wild?
So that's what tells me it's like, yo, the Angels didn't got it. They didn't want to spend anything. They're stuck in
How about
mediocrity.
Jones?
They lost. Oh yeah. That Shohei's gone, by the way.
I'm sorry.
So that's why I think, yeah, fourth place is going to be obtainable by Oakland. I really feel like that, but I'll give like a couple of games ahead of Oakland for the Angels for fourth. So yeah, I got Houston, Texas, Seattle, Angels, Oakland.
All right. So that pretty much wraps up our AL. Now let's go to our NL. The NL East, that should be really fun. That you got the Mets, obviously. They lost Senga, who, by the way, was going to be their ace. He's probably going to be out for at least a good month, maybe a month and a half. So the Mets, to me, they have a lot of middling arms they're banking on. Guys like Manaya, Severino, Hauser. So that rotation is very shaky to me right now. I do think their offense will probably get them to maybe like low 80s. They'll be kind of a fringe wildcard team if I had to pick. But the team right now, I specifically think will win the division. I'm leaning the Phillies. I think that the Phillies
Ooh.
are going to, I think that with Zach Wheeler in a free agent type year, he's going to absolutely shove. We're going to get out of Nola. He just signed that massive extension. They just were a win or two away from making the World Series last year. I think that they're on a redemption type of arc, and I think that it starts by winning the division. It's going to be a back and forth type battle, them and the Braves. But I think the Phillies are probably going to be winning about 95. I'm going to say 95. I think the Braves are going to probably be like low 90s. Something about the Braves kind of screams to me a little regression. Not saying they're going to be bad by any means. They're an absolute juggernaut. But I think that the Braves kind of feel like them. The Phillies kind of go back and forth kind of year by year. So I'm in the Phillies for this division. James, I'll go with you first. You got.
Okay, I'm gonna go Braves winning
Okay.
the East, and then I'm gonna go Philadelphia second.
Mm-hmm.
For third place, I'm gonna go Marlins.
I like it.
I'm strong for the Marlins this year somehow. I like what they did other from Tim Anderson, but they had some
Mhm.
other pieces I like. But maybe Tim Anderson can have one of those years where it's a maturing year. He can bounce back and show some form. Okay, for fourth, I'm gonna go Mets. I just feel like something's gonna happen to him. You might even hear those Pete Alonso talks of trade coming out of nowhere. And then last,
Wait. Do I have? Wait. Keep on going. I'm gonna something real quick. Do we
in
still
last,
have?
I'm gonna go Washington, but I'm hoping that with all their young players, I hope they make it. It's almost like the A's Angels situation. I'm hoping they make it close for not to be in last, but I know eventually they will, just because they don't have the major league talent ready. Like Skynes isn't really ready to come up just yet, but I'm hoping what I've seen in spring. I'm hoping that he comes up sometime this season and balls out.
All right. Isaiah, I'll go to you now. Who do you got win the NL West?
I got the
East.
Phillies.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no worries. I got the Phillies. I think it's going to be Phillies and Braves, but Philadelphia, I still think that they're going to make a move. Dave Dombrowski's one of the most aggressive GMs in all of sports, and he's not going to sit back here with Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, and Jordan Montgomery available and not do anything. I think the Phillies will go out and get someone, and I think that you guys might call me crazy, but there's been a lot of rumors in Philadelphia lately about Matt Chapman coming in to play third base, us moving Alec Boehm to either second base, I think it is. And then having Chapman at third, because Boehm is not really a good defensive third baseman. In fact, he's one of the worst defensive third basemen in all of baseball. And if you get Chapman, you shore up the defense at third base. So that might be something to look out for, especially if Chapman's willing to take a short-term deal. But I think the Phillies are built. I mean, they have that offense with Harper, with Trey Turner, another year in Philly. Schwarber, Castellanos looked comfortable last year. I know Reese Hoskins is gone, but you still got those big bats in the lineup, JT Realmuto as well, that are just going to shine and can.
Bryson Stott too. I mean, he played well in the playoffs as well.
He did. And he batted 280, which was really good for a second baseman. And then the pitching, Wheeler, Nola, what you can have for those guys. Taijuan Walker is coming off a very inconsistent year. We don't know how he's going to be in year 2 in Philly. Maybe he'll be good. Who knows? Ranger Suarez battled injuries. He was decent last year. But they need to add a third starter, I feel like. I feel like, especially with Snell and Montgomery still available, they still need to add that third starter because Suarez is kind of a question mark. Walker is obviously a question mark. And then who's going to be your fifth starter? That's the question that Philly fans have been asking for the last 2 years now. So that's a big question. In the bullpen, I mean, Kimbrel's gone. Dominguez. I think the bullpen, sadly, James and Ben, that's going to be a weakness for the Phillies because Dominguez was not good last year. Alvarado took a step back. The bullpen, they gave me a lot of heartburn last year, and now Kimbrel's gone and others are gone. So
look at the Craig Kimbrel experience. If you haven't already, he's going to give you a roller coaster of a ride, in a good way or in a bad way. So we're on the same path.
Yeah, I've experienced that with first. I mean, we had the Phillies had what's his name, Ian Kennedy as the closer, and he was a roller coaster.
Yep.
Then you had freaking Corey Kanebo as well, and he flamed out. And then I forgot. Oh, don't forget about Brandon Workman, the guy who would always walk a lot. That who we got from your Red Sox, man. And when he came to Philadelphia, he was supposed to be that shutdown closer that everybody was like counting upon. And all he just did was like get runners at first and second with 1 out and have to wiggle out of jabs all the time. Yeah. Oh my God. But the Phillies are going to be good. The Braves are going to be good. Chris Sale, I think he's going to bounce back there in the ATL with him being injury free. The Braves, I just don't think that they have enough pitching-wise to be able to compete with the Phillies. That's my only biggest question with them. The Mets, it's going to be year 1 of the David Stearns era is going to be a bust because they don't have a lot of talent there. A lot of the guys are injured. And here's a really bold prediction, guys. Pete Alonso will be traded at the deadline because have you guys seen the stuff that David Stearns has said? That guy is not committed to Pete Alonso whatsoever. I mean, he said something about, most likely. He said something about we're not gonna sign him long term right now. We'll wait. We'll let him test free agency. And when you let a guy test free agency, that is never ever good. So
and guess who is his agent?
Scott Boras. Oh God.
Yep.
Oh God.
I think Stern said that just because they're in the New York market, so they feel like they could sign him no matter what. But be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, could be leverage.
Yeah, I mean, also, what did the Yankees steal him? Because Anthony Rizzo is a free agent after the year, so you could bring the polar bear to the Bronx.
The thing with the Yankees is they have so much great young talent. I don't think that they want to just go kind of away from them. They want to. Their main prioritize right now, Isaiah, is keeping Soto. That's pretty much number one key. So, I mean, if they somehow extended Soto and they got Pete Alonso, I mean,
well, but also Pete Alonso would represent like a massive blow that the Yankees would hand the Mets because not only do you sign Pete Alonso to play first and he's in the prime of his career to go along with Judge, but you take it from your arch rival in the same state.
Oh my
So
god. Yeah.
That fan base would kill Alonso if he underperformed.
Oh
So
yeah.
It's
my
different
area
from
in New
Yankees
York,
and Mets.
oh my god, no. It would be I mean Severino obviously, they're really kind of like
Yeah.
wasn't like ape shit type of thing, but there were some pissed off Yankee fans when I saw it originally. But like no, this is Pete Alonso we're talking about here. A lot of people, at least around my area, are talking about it, and mostly people think he's going to stay with the Mets. I mean, that's essentially kind of what the consensus essentially is going to happen. If not there, then I'd say the Cubs. Those are pretty much that too. But yeah, the Yankees, if that happened,
Ooh.
yeah, that'd be crazy.
How about the Rangers too? Texas could be involved. Who knows? But
Yeah.
and then the Marlins. I mean, I think they'll be good because all their pitchers are hurt. That's the problem, and they're recovering from Tommy John surgery. And then the Nationals, sadly, they have a lot of good young talent, but they're just not major league ready yet. So I got the Phillies winning the division. I think it's Phillies, Braves, and then the rest.
All right, let's go to this division. Now, this division's kind of tough. NL Central. So the Reds, I think, had a really fun, promising year last year. They brought up LA De La Cruz. They got Spencer Steer. I was going to say Steer. They got some guys there. So I think that they could be a potential team to watch for sure. The Pirates just drafted Paul Skeens in the draft. I think that they're kind of a couple years away. Brian Reynolds obviously is a very fun, great player for them. And then the Brewers, they lost Burns. They brought back Woodruff. They have Peralta, so they have still a number one, number two, Yelich. I don't know still about guys. Adames and Devin Williams are going to stick there before the opening day. I don't know. So that's obviously kind of something to keep in mind. I think that they're going to try to keep them. And the Brewers obviously kind of have a tough first half. They might be dealt specifically at the deadline. But for me, my team at number one, this is gonna be tough. I'm gonna probably go with the Brewers. I still think specifically they're probably gonna be my number one. I know that obviously they lost Burns, but they still got some pieces there. I still think that if Adames comes back, I would have him at one. My number two is the Cubs. I really like what the Cubs have been doing this offseason. They brought in Shota Imanaga, who I think will help a lot. Their pitching staff. They got Tyone, who obviously was okay last year. They have Smiley, who isn't great, but I think could give them some innings. Obviously brought back Bellinger, and like I said, I would not rule them out to get a guy like a Matt Chapman. So the Cubs, to me, I think could be a sneaky good team next year. My third team is the Reds. I think that the Reds, are kind of probably take a little step back. I just don't know really about their pitching. They have Hunter Green. It's just like maybe they go and get a guy like Mike Clevenger, like a Michael Lorenzen. So Tom will tell about that. The Pirates are kind of a team still that is on the rebuild phase. So I kind of have them as one of my last teams. So this is, like I said, this is kind of a tough one specifically right now, but I'd probably go lean towards the Brewers. And then the Cubs. I think the Cubs and Brewers are kind of be probably right around the same. I'd probably go, 90, high 80s for both teams. Oh, the Cardinals. That's another team I forgot. Totally. You know what? Man. The Cardinals to me, guys, I think are just very like Goldschmidt's gonna be a free agent after this year. Their pitching staff is just it just screams mid. I mean, I know they got Lance Lennon, they got Sonny Gray, they got Michaelis. They brought pitchers in, but just it's worrisome there. I thought that they could have went and got somebody else. Heck, they could have brought back Montgomery. I thought that if they did that, that would be a lot better for them. So now it's just like, okay, so I would probably lean then the Brewers probably at one. Man, Cardinals I think regress a little bit here, guys. I think I have the Cardinals. Probably. Probably go Brewers and the Cubs, and then the Reds at three. Say Cardinals at four. Because I just don't trust that pitching staff. And then probably the Pirates at five. Man, I feel like this is gonna really age bad for me, but I'm gonna take it. All right, James, go ahead.
And this is tough, just like the AL was.
This is really tough. This might be the toughest one, to be honest.
I want to believe in the experience St. Louis has mixed with their younger players. Like, I have to believe Jordan Walker will be better in right field. He looked really bad, but the hitting is there. And you mentioned Goldschmidt in the contract year. That will probably be his last big contract he's going to get in the future. So he's going to ball out. So always keep that in mind. Arenado, I hate what he said the other day where he mentioned, we have some veterans on the team now. He's talking mostly about the starting pitchers. They went out and got Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn. He's got to keep the ball down this year.
Oh, yeah.
They also got Cal Gibson.
That's right.
So
Gibson, yep.
They went hunting, but it wasn't like big game hunting like you mentioned with Montgomery.
You got those guys early too. Like they were just like, we're just gonna throw the money for just decent pitchers, nothing crazy, but it's just like they kind of just threw their money out. And speaking of firings, Isaiah, the guy on the Cardinals, to me, I think he's gonna get fired this season. What's his name?
Oliver Marmol. Yeah,
he's gonna get the boot. I think
he should have been fired last year.
Yep. He's gonna get the boot.
I thought he lost, the locker room. He's, only 2 years, 3 seasons in, and he's already lost the umpires. Like whoever he's argued with, he's been really explicit toward them.
Oh my God.
Or when you're a young umpire or player, you really can't say things to a veteran umpire, or else you'll never get the calls going your way.
Yep.
Or you'll be thrown out right away just based on what you've done in the past. I feel like Marmol's going to overstep that, and he'll be the first one fired this season. So, okay, I'm going to change my pick because I was going to go with St. Louis, but now I won't. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds winning the Central.
Oh, wow. Love it.
They're young, but they're hungry. Hunter Green looks awesome this spring. It's going to be a whole season of him. So I'm going to go with the Reds, and then I'm going to go with the Brewers. They just don't have enough to compete for first, I would say. Then let me go St. Louis third. The Cubs are still work in progress to me. I just don't feel like they're going to do anything
they do lose Drummond. I do. Man.
Yeah, they do have Justin Steele though.
Yeah, Steele's a
monster. I don't know if he's. I don't know if he could be that ace. I just don't see that.
I think he could, but
he's almost a Cy Young candidate. He honestly is.
It's so tough.
So Cincinnati, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Chicago, and then Pittsburgh. I do want to see some strides made for them. I know they locked up some player, but they locked up their reliever. I forget his name. Their closer.
Bednar?
They locked it. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think it was.
Really?
Or they locked up somebody long term.
I knew that they extended Reynolds.
No, I know who you're talking about, James. It's
O'Neill Cruz, maybe?
Keller.
Mitch Keller. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
So I do like that move. They've been doing that lately. I think that was the first time they gave anybody $100 million in a contract extension. So I kind of like that stride where the owner's notoriously cheap. So it's a step in the right direction, but it just doesn't mean winning yet. And I just want to see Skynes come up, hopefully. Or not Skynes, but the other draft pick they had from the draft in June. I want to see maybe if he'll come up or next year.
Davis?
But they're not ready yet. Yeah. So I'm gonna go Pirates last, but I believe in Cincinnati this year.
Okay. All right, Isaiah. I can't even imagine where you're going right there.
Oh boy.
I agree with you guys. This is a extremely tough division to pick. Like, I don't believe in any of these teams. They're all flawed teams. And they're probably gonna be, first round exits if they make the playoffs. So having said that, the Cardinals, they spent a lot of money to get pitching, but they got a lot of mid pitchers, except Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is a great addition,
good.
But Lance Lynn, he had didn't he have like a 7 point something ERA last year? Like he
In the
was getting
postseason,
lit up.
it was awful.
And not even the Dodgers pitching lab fixed him. Like he got
Yeah.
rocked. Yeah.
He was getting rocked left and right. And then they also got Kyle Gibson as well.
It's not bad,
Which
but
I mean he's solid innings eater, but his ERA was like 5 as well. I think he got moved to the bullpen actually with the Orioles, because he was not that good. And then Sonny Gray. But yeah, I mean I don't like the Cardinals. The pitching not good. They're mid. Paul Goldschmidt's going to be a free agent. That's the team to watch because if they start off bad, then the Goldschmidt rumors are going to be going heavily.
Yeah.
And plus, their bullpen. They lost Jordan Hicks, their closer, and they traded him in to Toronto mid-season, and they really did nothing to improve their bullpen. So I don't trust their pitching, and pitching wins in baseball. So I can't trust the Cardinals. Pirates are too young. Skeens is gonna definitely, if he comes up, that's definitely gonna be one guy to watch for. I do like a lot of the Pirates' young players. I think they
recalled re-signed McCutcheon for another year.
I believe they did.
Yeah, I think they did, but
the Brewers, they lost Hader, or not Hader. They lost
Burns.
Corbin Burns.
They lost Burns. Yep, they lost Burns. Craig Counsell's now with the Cubs. Pat Murphy is their new manager.
Yeah.
There's just so much change there. I won't be surprised if they start off bad too, and Devin Williams, and Christian Yelich and others get shopped, which I think they will. So, having said it, I'm gonna agree with you, James. I'm gonna go with the Reds. I'm gonna give me the tantalizing young team. I believe in Ellie De La Cruz. Hunter Green was fantastic last year. They've added some veterans. David Bell, I like that guy as a manager because he always yells at everybody.
Red fans wanted him gone for so long.
He got lucky.
Yeah. Well, and then the Cubs, also about them, they're just they brought in Counsell, they kept Bellinger, but they didn't do anything else. So it's like it doesn't make sense why they didn't go all in. So I'm gonna go with
Manga though. He's not bad.
They did. But Manga he doesn't bring the excitement like Yamamoto or some of those top Asian pitchers.
That's for a lot of guys. I think that he can still be kind of a viable piece for them, even if he's not in that top type of tier.
Yeah, but he might be more of a 4 of a 5 pitcher. So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I don't like any of these teams in the NL Central. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the Reds.
Okay. Like I said, this one was so tough. Now let's go to the NL West, and this one shouldn't be as tough because it's kind of like the NL West from last year. If you go against this team specifically, that's presumably gonna be the favorite. I don't know what we're talking about here. The NL West, guys, is going to be the Dodgers. I think specifically they will eclipse 100 wins. They'll probably be 102, 103 if everything goes well. I'm going with that specifically with them. They have an absolute stacked and loaded roster. If everything goes planned, and obviously we'll see if it translates to October because they've had their spurts in terms of not staying healthy, and you saw last year in terms of pitching, like you mentioned, I said it matters, and their pitching last year in October, it was either they didn't have enough or it was just a disaster. So they essentially took it personal. The Michael Jordan meme, and I take it personally. Andrew Freeman was not playing games, and he essentially went out and got Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Tyler Glass now. You got Kike Hernandez, Ryan Brazier. Obviously there's not many teams that should be going and spending sprees like the Dodgers, but they're going to be presumably the number one team in the NL West. My number 2 team in the NL West, guys, is going to be the D-backs. I really like the way the D-backs have been. Obviously, last year they made the World Series. They brought in Eugenio Suarez, which I think is a great one for them. They still got Seawald. So I really like what the D-backs have been doing. And then after I'm probably gonna go with the Padres. I know the Padres, if they keep Snell, that's kind of the big, mystery right now. No. They want to keep Snell. Yeah, I don't know. I think the
That
Padres are
would
gonna
be
take a step
funny if
back.
that happened. If he
It
went back
would.
there for cheap money,
Yeah.
that would be something.
Yeah. Give me a sec here. NL West outside of I mean, obviously the Dodgers and D-backs are gonna be 1-2. That should be pretty much a given. I'm gonna have to probably think of like kind of the way the rest goes, but yeah, I'll probably go with San Diego's gonna probably be in like the low to mid 80s. I think I still really like that lineup. I mean, they still have Tatis Jr. if he stays healthy. Their rotation, they have Musgrove still kind of around. I know he hasn't been great this spring, but they got Darvish. So I mean, I don't think they're going to be awful, but I just think that they're going to take a step back and kind of compare to the other two teams that are going to be on that top. The Rockies, that's another team. I mean, the Rockies are going to be probably one of the worst teams. They could be the worst team potentially in baseball. They just have nothing. I mean, even their best player, Chris Bryant, can't stay on the field. So that's pretty much the Rockies for you. And then, crap, there's another team in between that I'm probably completely missing. The Dodgers are going to be one.
The Giants.
The Giants, yes.
We're waiting for them to make a move, basically.
Yeah, they're kind of a team that we're like, all right, what's going to happen? Is Verhon going to make a big splash here? Yeah, I mean, I think that the Padres Giants are going to be kind of either they're going to be 3-4, regardless in terms of the Giants do. I can see the Giants getting Snell and Chapman, so I think that maybe can overtake the Padres in a way, possibly. I really like the John Lee acquisition for them, but definitely for sure, Dodgers in 1 and D-backs in 2. That's essentially the ones who I have. Isaiah, I'll take it to you, my friend. You're NL West.
So look, we're going to be doing a baseball preview show probably mid-March. So these predictions probably will change because these teams are going to change.
This is kind of an early fun one I'm going to do for sure. Because obviously spring training is around.
Yeah, and that's why, a lot of these teams I think will change by the time the season does start. So I think, you know what? Dodgers are number 1. I'm not crazy enough to say that they're gonna not win the NL West. I mean, they got Yamamoto, they got Ohtani, they got Glass now. That was a great move. And also they got a really the most underrated move that they made was getting James Paxton. Really good, solid innings eater when healthy. So
yeah,
I think
I
he
liked
can
him in
definitely
Boston.
help.
He just kind of put it together.
Yeah. And the lineup's obviously going to be good with Mookie, Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, Kike Hernandez, Muncy, Will Smith. But the one thing that worries me, Ben and James, is the bullpen for the Dodgers. Who's the closer for the Dodgers right now? Is it Blake? It's not Blake Trinan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'd probably say Trinan or Evan Phillips.
Okay, so they don't have a proven closer. I think that's what's going to hurt them. Is
Devin
that
Williams.
I could see them?
Happen.
Yeah, I could see them blowing a lot of games late. Because they don't have that proven closer in the bullpen. Like Trinan, you don't know year in and year out what you're going to get from him. One year he's great. The next year he looks like one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So I can't really trust him. Evan Phillips,
he's good.
He's good, but he's still young, and I don't know if he can assume the closer's role.
The thing about the Dodgers, though, Isaiah, is even I know that probably the bullpen's their flaw. They have so much talent offensively. They're going to be able to outslug a lot of these games. It's like
that's true. That's true.
They're probably not going to have to use a lot of their bullpen, to be honest, to win a lot of these games. Just scary.
Well, yeah. No, and I agree. That's why I think they're going to win the division. But when it comes to October, those October baseball playoff games, the pitching gets better. You can't outslug people really. You've got to win close games. And that what really worries me about the Dodgers is if there's a kryptonite with the Dodgers is late game. I could see a team like Texas with their offense going up against Trinan or Phillips, and it just being a nightmare for the Dodgers that way. But I got the Dodgers. By the way. Yeah, so I got the Dodgers winning the division. You know what? I'm not going to go with Arizona to be second. I think they take a step back. That World Series hangover is real. I know they got Eduardo Rodriguez to improve the rotation, but that lineup really surprised a lot of people last year. And now you have another year. You'll be able to know how to pitch to Corbin Carroll and all the young guys that they have there. I think there'll be some of those young guys will struggle in year two. So having said that, I am hoping that I am right that they get a couple pieces before now and the start of the season.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go with the San Francisco Giants, guys,
Oh,
for the
man.
second because
Well, we don't know what they've done yet.
but I believe in Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin is miles and miles ahead of Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler was the human robot, guys. Like the guy, like he's a good guy. Don't get me wrong, but the guy can't manage a baseball team. Like he doesn't use his gut. He just uses what the binder tells him, and that's it. He just goes by the binder. Now you have Bob Melvin, who goes by his gut. He makes really good decisions, and I really think that will definitely help the Giants. And Giants players have even said that the clubhouse is different. It's a different, more better environment under Bob Melvin than it is with Gabe Kapler. So I think Melvin will help a lot. Jung Ho Lee looks great in spring training. He hit a home run today. And I think he had a double as well. He had a triple the other day. So he looks really good as a leadoff hitter. But I think they're going to add a couple more pieces. They have to, because if they don't, especially with the expectations they came into this offseason with, Farhan Zaidi might get fired midseason if the team's underperforming. Like, if they are underperforming and he didn't make any moves, then he might be fired into the sun. So I think the Giants get Chapman. I think they get Blake Snell or Montgomery. I think they get I think one or if not both those guys, and I think they get them to fortify their their lineup and their team. And then I think Arizona's third. I like what they did this offseason. I think the Padres are going to be fourth. Tatis Jr. is a ticking time bomb. I mean, the guy, you never know when that bomb is going to explode, and like he's going to do something bad and do something stupid. The rotation, I think, will be good. The offense will take a step back, and it's going to really, really hurt them. And I don't know their bullpen. That's a big question mark for me. And then the Rockies, I mean, Chris Bryant, can he stay healthy for the whole season? Like, that's their biggest question.
He should ask help. He really should.
Why did he even sign that 7-year deal in the first place? Like, that's like the biggest.
For a lot of these guys, they always say wherever the money goes, that's usually where a lot of these guys go. And so, like James was mentioning in terms of we were talking before he came on the air about where who is it running back? Pollard, right? You have him potentially going to the Cardinals. It's just like they're kind of where careers go to die. So it's almost like a similar situation with Chris Bryant. It's like, he's going to play to get paid really at the end of the day. So all right, so we got to the division winners, guys. Before we get into the awards, type of quick winners, what's your quick early World Series matchup?
This is a tough one. Wow.
I got mine because on my other network, on my baseball show, I had to get asked this morning, so it's clearly fresh in my mind, and I'm still living by it.
You know what? For me,
it's all right, Isaiah. You can say it.
I think we get a repeat. I think we get a matchup of what we should have had last year before the D-backs spoiled the party. I think it's going to be the Phillies and the Rangers. I think Texas is going nowhere. DeGrom, Scherzer will be back midseason. Phillies are built to win now. And you look at everybody in the AL, everybody has a flaw besides Texas, except the rotation. The Yankees are unproven. They have to, mesh in Soto. The Dodgers, that bullpen really scares me. And I think it's going to be that NLCS Dodgers Phillies, and that Phillies offense against that Dodgers bullpen. Give me the Phillies offense any day. So give me Rangers, Astros, ALCS, Phillies, Dodgers, NLCS, and Phillies, Rangers World Series.
All right. For me, I'm going with the one from a couple years ago, kind of a San Francisco Chiefs feel, but in baseball, the Astros and Phillies. I think that the Phillies find a way to get over the hump like last year, and the Astros get their revenge against Texas in the ALCS. I think that the Yankees, their injury history is a major concern, and the Dodgers, can matter most in the postseason. Both those two teams probably for a lot of people think they're going to be the World Series match, which I would hate to see as a Red Sox fan the Yankees back in the World Series, but for baseball, I mean, the amount of talent, it's like goodness gracious. I mean, that'd be incredible to watch. But yeah, I think that the Astros Phillies would be a great fun, even though I would hate to see the Astros back in it. I think that would be my overall matchup. And I actually, Isaiah, got the fighting Phils. Get it done.
Wow.
Yep. I think that they find a way. They know for a fact that they're this close, and Rob Thompson finally gets over the hump. I'll go to you, James.
Okay, yeah. Quickly from my NL West, I agree with you, Ben, but I'm just waiting for the Giants to do whatever they're going to do. I have the Padres in third, Arizona second. But for my World Series, I have to go LA until I see differently. I just believe they have too much offensive firepower. I think one of y'all said, hey, they're going to outslug, or Ben said they're going to outslug everyone. So I'm going to go LA. I just feel like they just have too much. And by the way, they're healthy in their rotation now. Eventually, Kershaw will come back. Buehler eventually will come back. You mentioned Paxton is there. Yamamoto now. It's like an abundance of riches. Other from that bullpen, but I think they'll get away with it. Other from last year where their main guys went cold. Well, now you throw Shohei in there. Okay, everybody's going to eat. It's tougher in the AL though. I think we have a rematch of 2017. I'm gonna go Astros Dodgers, and this time I just somehow believe in the Astros to make a run again. I know they lost Dusty Baker, and they have a new manager there, Joe Espinoza, but I just feel like they're gonna make it back somehow. Everybody else will kind of be behind, like Texas will be behind. Orioles will be too young still. Yeah. I think LA's gonna win in 5 games. I'm gonna go Dodgers in 5 over Houston.
All right. Now let's get to the fun award predictions. So we'll go to the AL/NL Cy Young, Rookie of the Year for both, because I got asked this morning, so I obviously have to ask you guys this. And then AL and NL MVP. So AL, NL MVP for me. I'll start with myself. AL MVP, guys, for me is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, essentially, he got hurt second half of last year, but he was ready to put on a massive torrid pace. I don't think he's going to be like high 50s in home runs, but I think it'll be like high 40s, and he'll probably be the MVP. My NL is gonna be Ronald Acuna Jr. Guy's an absolute monster. Love his game, and I think he's going to put up absolute great numbers. And then I'll just kind of go through my whole list while I'm at it. My AL and NL Cy Young. So my AL Cy Young, I got Garrett Cole. My NL Cy Young, I got Spencer Strider. So essentially, I got one of each from the Yankees and Braves for both the MVP and the Cy Young. Now, this is obviously kind of where things change. My AL Rookie of the Year is Jackson Holliday from the Orioles. I think that he is going to be an absolute monster. I love this kid for sure. It sucks he's going to be in my division, so of course he's going to termite my team. But my NL Rookie of the Year is going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The kid has a ton of promise. I love his overall. What he's obviously done in Japan, and I think he's going to do really well with the Dodgers. And then I think that's it. Unless I was missing something. So I'll go to you, James.
It's funny how we copy each other.
Oh my God.
Well, on some things here.
Okay.
So for the AL MVP, I have Juan Soto. I think that
I like it.
short porch and right is going to help. He's still going to walk a bunch. And plus, he's a free agent. So, again, going back to my theory about the contract years, he's going to hit over 40 home runs. He's just going to be amazing for New York. And his ego will go up as much as his new contract will be in the future years. For the NL MVP, I'm going with Mookie Betts. I think he's going to have a renaissance type of year. It's just going to be a Dodger renaissance, really, with him. I think he was kind of embarrassed from last postseason. He's got more protection in the lineup more than ever. So I'm going to go Mookie. Okay, and then with the Cy Young, I totally agree with you. Cole in the AL and then Strider in the National League. He's got a new curveball for Strider, so that's going to be interesting to note. Rookie of the Year for the Dodgers, Yamamoto. He's already experienced coming here. And then just because I hated Isaiah talking about Evan Carter all the damn time with Texas last year, I'm going with Watt Langford as the Rookie of the Year for the Rangers.
Really?
I just feel like this is going to be his time over Evan Carter, and he's going to really show up big for the Rangers.
He might not even make the team.
It's a long shot, but I'm just sick of people mentioning Evan Carter. So it's a long shot, but I'm going to do it. Because, look, I don't know how the Pirate, was it Skynes or whomever it is? I don't know how he'll do this. Oh, I'm sorry. No. There was another AL rookie I was looking at. Holiday, yeah, I don't know if he'll come up this year, but I know he was the favorite.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of talent, in that one lineup. I don't know if he'll get lost in it.
They got this kid from the Rays. I think a lot of people are talking about shortstop prospect that I was kind of looking at, but
yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try an Isaiah move and just go off the grid.
Hey, we have to hear that on the show. All right, speaking of the guy Isaiah, what about you?
This is tough because there's a lot of talent across baseball, so you can go with like anybody. AL MVP, I'm going to go with the guy that should have been the World Series MVP, and that is Adolis Garcia. I think that he missed the World Series last year, and a lot of people get really if you don't follow baseball that closely, you didn't really know who Adolis Garcia was, right? But for me and James, we followed that because our teams are in that division, so we got to see Adolis Garcia every time the Rangers played our teams, and he was a beast against our teams, and he was just lighting it up. So Adolis Garcia is a tremendous slugger. He should be up there with guys like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. When that guy gets going, oh my gosh, watch out. So I got him. I think that he's going to carry the Rangers. He's going to have to, especially with our rotation not being that good to start the season. And I think he'll be back with vengeance. NL MVP, Ohtani, because he's going to be hitting cleanup. And you think about the guys in front of him: Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, potentially Will Smith or another right-handed bat in that lineup. I mean, it will be crazy. I think Ohtani could potentially have 130 RBIs with that many runners in scoring position that he'll have. So I'll go with Ohtani as my MVP. Cy Young for the NL. Oh, that's crazy. Cy Young for the NL. I am gonna go. I'm going to go with Tyler Glass now. Going home, pitching at Dodger Stadium, pitcher's ballpark with that lineup. I think that he's got a lot of he definitely has a lot of, he's going to have a lot of run support. So I think he dominates there. AL Cy Young. That's a tough one too. You know what? AL Cy Young. Give me Garrett Cole. I agree with you guys. I think Garrett Cole will win that Cy Young back-to-back award. And then the Rookie of the Year in the American League. I can't believe James went with the other guy in Texas. It's got to be Evan Carter. The guy lit it up in the postseason of the World Series, and all he did was just rank and take walks, and he's going to be better in year 2 than he was in year 1, and he had a great year 1 already. It's like,
Isaiah, let's put a bet on it.
Hey, I don't bet. Come on,
make it light on yourself.
I take that back. Another guy that I could see for the AL Rookie of the Year, I don't know if you consider him a rookie though, is Anthony Volpe of the Yankees. Is he a rookie?
I don't think so.
He's like Tristan Casas. Tristan Casas and Volpe are in the same class, I think. But
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I could see it. I mean, apparently he's bulked up a little bit here in this spring training. So
Well, and after he ate that chicken parm, I mean, it completely changed the season around. He
apparently,
like I think he hit like 340 after that, and he actually looked like a good major league hitter afterwards. So hopefully he figured it out. And then NL Rookie of the Year. NL Rookie of the Year. Ooh, Dela Cruz does not count as a rookie, right?
nope. Well, he's young, but I don't know if if you ask me like is Elio Cruz like a rookie of the year type of thing, no, I think he's past that, but he's still
He's
young.
past.
He's like I'm trying to think of like an AL kind of comp to him in a way. Maybe like J Rod, I guess, possibly.
Ooh, so then if he's not available, then oh my
Like Yamamoto is definitely like he's like probably presumably the favorite.
I
Mhm.
probably would go with Yamamoto just because like you guys know when you have a lot of run support, like pitchers tend to just like go all out and throw their nastiest stuff. So I could see a lot of games where he's got like 8 to 10 strikeouts, especially in year one, and not a lot of teams have faced him. So I'll go with Yamamoto.
All right. That's guys gonna do it for our baseball segment and our last topic of the night. And it's really gonna be one topic. And I feel like I've talked a lot tonight. So I'll let you Isaiah or James take it away for the team reports and basketball. You guys, one of you guys can take go ahead for that. So Isaiah, I'll let you go and take it away for the basketball segment if you want to.
Well, I appreciate you, Ben.
No
But
problem.
I need to face James and say this.
Oh, shut
James,
up.
how about them Lakers, buddy? How about that 21-point comeback yesterday? Um, yeah, that was a win of the year for the Lakers for sure, and I think that's a win that could definitely turn their season around. Maybe I'm saying that a little too early because we followed that up by nearly losing to the Washington Wizards, who are a woeful team. Jordan Poole put up 38 on us tonight.
That's
Like,
insane.
He had his
oh,
friends there. That's why he balled out.
but we beat the Washington Wizards 134 to 131 in overtime, in which let me just tell you guys this. So in overtime, final possession, the Wizards got the ball. There's 17 seconds left. With 12 or with about 10 seconds left in the game, you wait till like 6 seconds left, 5 seconds left to make a move and try to go get a three or whatever. Kyle Kuzma with 10 seconds left took a 40-footer. He took a 40-footer. It bounced. No, it almost went in. It bounced on the rim, bounced on the backboard, and then it came back. And then I think it was Denny Avicii who nearly secured the rebound, but he had it poked away, and then the Lakers got it, and LeBron threw it out to Dinwiddie. But what is Kyle Kuzma doing, man? There's like 9 seconds left, dude. Why do you need to feel the need when you're not even that good of a three-point shooter? Why do you need to feel the need to pull up from like 40 foot and try to knock that shot down? Like, you could have given it to Jordan Poole, you could have given it to someone else, but instead you decide to pull up. But lucky win by the Lakers tonight. Great win last night by the Lakers. LeBron, I thought I was watching Michael Jordan reincarnated in his prime out there last night with LeBron. LeBron was just unconscious last night, knocking down anything, and no matter if you double teamed him, triple teamed him, he would still knock it down. But yeah, great win by the Lakers. Now the Lakers are now 32 and 28. I believe they're still ninth in the West, but they're 1 or 2 games back now of the 7th seed, so that's good. But they have a lot of teams like the Bucks, the Warriors, the Pelicans, the Kings. Yeah, or the 9th seed. Okay. They have a lot of playoff teams coming up, and that this is their schedule right here to try to make a move up, because you're going to be playing a lot of these teams you're trying to catch anyways. So they have to win some of these games that they are playing. And let me just say this about the West before I give it to James. Guys, watch out for Dallas, because Dallas is 8th right now, and they've got a really difficult schedule coming up. And if the Dallas Mavericks, after a year after missing the playoffs, if they implode and they miss, let's say the final couple months of the season, they miss the playoffs, I could see Jason Kidd being fired. I could see Luka and Kyrie splitting up. Like I could see Dallas just doing like, yeah,
I can
because
see
after a big collapse last year and now this year, something's gonna have major changes
relationship,
are gonna
guys.
happen.
Another one bites the dust. Him and Harden. Every year, there's something going on with those two guys.
Yep.
And the last thing before I turn it to James is the Lakers picked the right time. Even though I bashed them, they picked the right time to save up their picks and not do anything at the deadline. Because imagine if Kyrie or Luka is available this
Luka won't be
offseason.
available.
He won't be available.
Come
But
on.
make a dream.
If he wants out, you could
You know,
potentially
Isaiah,
have
I can
Trae
see
Young,
this happening with you
Kyrie.
guys. Maybe Trae Young. Watch out for you guys getting Trae Young.
Yeah, I could see it. Him and LeBron are in the same.
Or-
age.
Enjoy that non-defense by
Or-
Trae Young.
Or your old dream is Zach LaVine. Maybe he comes in.
Oh God!
Nobody touched that, dude. Oh,
I'll be curious to know what Zach LaVine's going to be doing the offseason. So, James, what do you go ahead with
He's
your
like
team?
Anthony
I know
Rizzo.
it's probably a little sour after in terms of what happened the other night, but you guys are obviously still playing pretty well.
yeah, I didn't get to watch the last of it, so I guess blame me. The Clippers fell to now fourth in that Western Conference at 37-20. Since the All-Star break, things haven't been as well. They've lost 3 out of the 4 coming from the break. They laid an egg in Oklahoma City, which they seem to never win in Oklahoma City now. It used to be different. They did beat Memphis. They're in Tennessee barely. I mean, that Memphis team, despite where they are, they play hard. And then also, Sacramento on Sunday came in and kept the game close, but eventually pulled through. And it seems like the Clippers can't beat Sacramento now in LA. And that used to be a thing. So, and then the Laker game, yeah, having that lead and blowing it without Paul George. I'm not using that as an excuse, but it would have helped. His points would have helped. Just foul trouble. Zubac was out as well. I think that would have helped up front with Davis. But yeah, LeBron did his thing, and that was tough to see. This was the last installment of the Lakers-Clippers hallway rivalry there at former Staples Center. By the way, the Lakers took 3 out of 4 of the hallway series this season over the Clippers. First time since 2012, the Clippers lost a season series to the Lakers. That was when things started to change with Chris. That was Chris Paul's first year with the Clippers. And ever since then, it was really nice. So that was unfortunate. Kawhi Leonard's been awesome. He's up there as an MVP candidate, but pretty much I don't think anymore unless they can get up to the first spot. They did unveil some new uniforms for next season when they move into Intuit Dome, and I really like them. The logo is a lot. They put a lot into the logo, but it's fine. It's a Clipper ship and a ball and a C. It reminds you of the Chicago Cubs in a way. I don't really like that because the old one does. The one they have now, I mean, does. So, but the jerseys are like mid 80s looking, and they finally will have a red one, which I might actually get. I really like it. And they had Harden in the display with the white uniform, and I don't know if he's going to stay depending on how the postseason goes. Another thing about the Western Conference, and it goes to Lakers and Warriors. I can never count them out. It feels like they have the experience.
They're really hitting up too.
Yeah, both have made the moves, putting Clay on the bench, and then the Lakers adding some players to their starting lineup, putting Reeves in. That's been helping. And like I said, I should have shut my mouth when I told Isaiah what the Lakers should do a month ago. And they've been doing it, and they've been more successful. So I'm always worried about them. I think the topic on Inside today was saying, like, would you trust, the Timberwolves, just like the Grizzlies last year, they lost to the Lakers. Would you trust Minnesota and Oklahoma City, who are at the top of the West? Would you trust them against the Warriors or Lakers in a 7-game series? I wouldn't. Even if they had a home court, I would go with the veterans.
Yep.
So look out for the Warriors and Lakers to be players to, make a splash. Maybe they'll be in the conference finals again. Who knows?
All right. Really quickly before I go to my team report, Isaiah, you want to put your camera on? I want to ask you a quick question. If you're there. So Isaiah put something out about the New York Knicks being the rulers of the Eastern
Oh,
Conference.
hell no.
And I was at the Celtics Knicks game last Saturday.
Really?
And yep, and it was a really fun game. Thank you, Isaiah. We appreciate your time here. And Isaiah, I will say this: this is just another way of Isaiah loses again. Because let's be real, you thought that the Celtics, and yes, of course, the Celtics have not won a long time. I get this, but the Celtics right now, proving to people they aren't frauds in the regular season. They, to me specifically, this is not even being a homer specifically. The Knicks are a good team. They are a good team. Jalen Brunson's good. Obviously, they're out Julius Randle, OG Anunoby. They're a good team. I'm not discrediting them. They have a really good coach there in Tom Thibodeau. But the Celtics, to me, right now, I think it's going to be between the Celtics and the Bucks. And then Paul Pierce was getting asked this, I think, a couple days ago. He said, the team that fears him the most is the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to agree because the Miami Heat just have our number lately. And I hate to admit it because I just can't hate that team right now. But right now, as it follows, I think the Heat, I think they lost today to Denver in that NBA Finals rematch. But the Heat, if they are, they're the 8th seed. We're the 1 seed. If the playoffs ended today, we would have to face them again. And as much as I would love that rematch, that would absolutely kill me. Now, obviously, Porzingis, if he is healthy, that changes a lot because you can obviously, it just, that overall added score would help so much. But man, I would hate to try to avoid that matchup at all costs, especially if it's the first round of the Eastern Conference. But the Celtics lately have been good. They kind of dog walked through the Sixers game the other night, the first couple quarters without Embiid. But that's the Celtics for you. They kind of gave you that pre-Lakers game vibe. Remember, Isaiah, when you came to the TD Garden and beat us shorthanded? I don't know, something about shorthanded teams and us. We somehow just kind of fuck around, and we almost did it against the Sixers the other night. But thankfully, we pulled it out at the end because Jason Tatum decided not to keep chucking shots from the outside when they're not hitting. So that's a plus. They have let me think in terms of who they have coming up. They have the Mavericks tomorrow. That's gonna be fun. And then they have, let me see, they have a pretty decent stretch ahead, but they're 46-12. Guys, the Celtics, I think, are like their clinching number to the first seed is like 7-8 games. Like they're pretty much almost there right now. And then obviously the 2 seed is the Cavs. Guys, the Cavs have been a really fun story lately. They obviously lost the other night. Did you guys see the Max Strus half-court shot the other night against Dallas? That was incredible. I mean, just the overall, just the reaction from PJ Washington, I believe, because he hit the basketball before and they just turned around and see Strus choking it up. The Bucks, I don't know. The Bucks, to me, Damian Lillard had some interesting comments about them lately. In terms about playing there, I just felt like the Giannis Dame situation, the playing has kind of been on and off. It hasn't been as like consistent as I thought. The Knicks, of course, have been a great story, but I just don't know if they can make that leap in the postseason. The Sixers right now are 3-7 in the last 10. They're really struggling without Embiid. Even though Embiid might come back, it's like, I don't know specifically. I'm looking at the Eastern Conference right now. God, did you guys know the Magic? Isaiah, did you say the Magic were going to be the team to watch out for this in the Eastern Conference this year, like as a sleeper team? Because you might hit this right. Because I thought specifically for like a couple months to start this season, the Magic would be like, one of those teams would be like, okay, and then they kind of fall off. Guys, the Magic are ahead of the Pacers and the Heat right now. I mean, who would have thought? Yeah, it's March 1st, and the Magic are the 16th. Like, I think that the Magic for sure can make the playoffs. Maybe a play-in team, like a late play-in team, because the play-in teams right now are the Bulls, the Hawks, the Nets, and the Raptors, I think. I mean, it's just something about that. That's jeez. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of really the Celtics overall headlines there specifically. So I think with that being said, guys, that'll conclude for tonight. Great show. I really quickly wanted to send my regards to Tim Wakefield and Stacy and their family. I did want to mention that really quickly. Man, absolutely heartbreaking. Rest in peace in order to Stacy. She was battling cancer, and just the overall time frame, the months apart between Tim passing away and then obviously Stacy, just really hits hard. Just for the overall baseball community, but just myself as a Red Sox fan, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And hopefully that for opening day at Fenway, they have a very good honorable, mention, just to remember them. They did something for Tim at the spring training game the other day, but that's more we're kind of, final thoughts is great show and rest in peace to Stacy Wakefield. And my prayers and condolences go out to them and the Red Sox community. So I'll let one of you guys go to finish off for tonight.
Good.
Yeah, great show. Oh, great. Yeah, great show tonight. I want to second that message. Rest in peace to Stacy Wakefield. Died at a very young age. Very unfortunate stuff. It just sucks, man. Cancer just sucks. And, I feel so bad for them. Rest in peace to her and, condolences out to her family. I know the Wakefield family has had to go through a lot of unfortunate things like the last few months. So prayers go up to them. But my final thoughts is very looking forward to, it's March now, which means it's Shamrock month. We've got, your birthday. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun month. We got March Madness coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. Although, the team that I typically watch for, the Wolverines of Michigan, are absolutely crap.
We should do like a bracketology show on this, or like at least kind of do like a watch party. Definitely.
We should. That'll be fun.
It's wide open, just like last year.
Yeah. You don't know who's going
to. We can kind of plan that out a little bit in a couple of weeks, like make like our brackets and then kind of go through that. I could try to probably do that for a show of mine coming up. So,
okay. And then you have free agency. Free agency, fellas, is in 10 days. Can you believe it? It just feels like the season just ended, and now we're jumping into
some free teams. Agency. I mean, my Patriots, I feel like it goes over into like December.
Yeah, no.
The Niners maybe it was like a month or two ago. James, your Raiders probably the same way in terms of maybe a couple months ago. For you, it's like a month ago. So
no, it feels like a couple weeks ago, and then now we're jumping into free agency. So yeah, it's definitely quick. But looking forward to free agency. I think we might have a watch party that morning when free agency starts. I don't know about that, but hopefully we'll be able to do something like that. And then also, speaking of baseball. I'm officially, fellas, I've booked my trip to spring training. I'm going to be going to hopefully 5 games in a matter of 3 days. James, I'm going to be hitting your Angels down there in Arizona. I think I'm going to Angels Royals. So get to see Bobby Witt Jr. and, your franchise player, Mickey Moniak out there.
No.
Hopefully get some autographs.
Do some live reports, Isaiah, down at spring training for the network. That'd be great.
Oh, we'll do. Definitely. I'm going to be visiting like a lot of, I'm going to be seeing a lot of different teams. I think the White Sox and the Reds, hopefully they make that fun. And then the Giants are actually supposed to play, I think the Padres or something one of those days. So that's exciting. The A's and the Rangers as well. So definitely very exciting. Can you guys believe, by the way, I looked this up the other day. The A's spring training tickets, guess how much it is? For the cheapest spring training tickets for the Oakland A's?
$10.
$30.
The Oakland A's cheapest ticket for their game against the San Diego Padres. The last time I checked, this was on Ticketmaster, it was $53. How is that even possible? That you have $50 tickets when your team at the Coliseum, our tickets at the Coliseum, our cheapest is like $5, and we're selling tickets for $50.
I got a theory why. Because the Coliseum is so worn down. It's like the team's awful, and if they want to sit in the Coliseum, or they want to go during spring training when it's not as when it's a little bit better of a stadium. Sorry, Isaiah.
They should just move there then. Since they won't have a home until 26, they should just play at their spring training facility.
Exactly. Let's
That is
make a
Just like the Jays did during COVID year and
Yeah.
the year after.
in Florida.
Why not? Just play at your wherever, I don't know where it is, but play in Arizona.
But like that's why I'm going to the Rangers game instead of the A's that day because I'm not paying $63 tickets when I pay $8 for the Rangers and get to hopefully pose with the World Series trophy. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun. Can't wait for that trip. Definitely gonna be doing a lot of reports for the network about that. And also we're gonna have a baseball preview show sometime in mid to end of March. Definitely before the season starts, so tune in for that. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, we may do a NBA playoff preview show when that comes up. So, because that's we're definitely hitting the stretch run now of the
I
NBA
also found out
season.
too, Isaiah, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
The Sweet 16 and opening day in baseball is the same day.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So talk about madness. We're gonna be having that type of madness coming up too.
And the last thing I'll say is this: Rangers and Astros. I think we're definitely gonna do a watch party for one of those first games because the rivalry, the bad blood is gonna be spewed out there. The Rangers, like I said earlier, they're giving out their World Series rings when the Astros are visiting, so that's a lot of petty stuff you got there. And I know Astro fans still remember Corey Seager saying something about, who would have thought the Rangers were going to win the World Series or something. I probably butchered the entire quote, but basically saying what Alex Bregman said. So I can't wait for that matchup, and make sure you guys tune in. We're going to try to do a watch party that day when one of those games for Astros Rangers first series in Arlington.
All right, James, any final thoughts?
I think he said a lot of things that I wanted, but yeah, I feel bad for the Wakefield family. Yep. Yesterday when I saw the news on MLB Network, I thought to myself, man, he just, Wakefield, passed away 5 months ago.
Crazy.
And it's that unfortunate feeling when I worked with, a lot of elderly people. When one spouse dies, the other, passes, sometime soon after that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I never knew the cause, so I just feel bad for the Wakefield family. I know how popular he is with all the Red Sox fans and the players back then and the whole area. So yeah. I'm just I feel bad for the whole family and Red Sox Nation, knowing how much of a hold they had on the franchise and the area. Yep. Yeah, I can't wait till March Madness. We have one more week of conference games and then conference championships. Mm-hmm. The last one for the Pac-12 before, stupid moves happen. So I'm going to enjoy that, the last one before the Big 10 or the Big 18 comes up. And then right away get into March. I don't know about the Angel games. Just try to see progress, not care about the results like we talked about. Mm-hmm. I'll ask Isaiah really quick. Have you ever seen a manager make a mound visit but not take out the pitcher in spring training?
No, I have. Well, I'm not in spring training.
So Ron Washington did, and he helped a pitcher get out of a jam against the Dodgers on the first game last Saturday. I just thought it was amazing. And then I know Washington's only there, and he's old, and he's there for a 2-year deal, but I want that type of mentality right away with the Angels. So I'm hoping to see that this year, throughout the year.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for all that joined Kicking with Kruse. Like I said, it was a really great packed show for tonight, but we pretty much got everything we wanted to get covered. Once again, happy March for the first month to all who celebrate. It's going to be a great month of sports. And yeah, just thank you guys for joining. And like I said, if you guys like what you saw tonight, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Also, my Twitter here posted down in the ticker as well too. So, guys, without further ado, thank you guys for watching. Kicking with Kruse, alongside Isaiah Leon, James Gonzalez. I'll give it to you guys the outro. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Oh my God! Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving
Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything possible!